Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, or a punk with toys, but you're watching the show, so you know exactly what it is. Anyway, if you are watching right now, this isn't live, so please don't get upset if you ask any questions and we don't respond because, well, both of us will be at assembly required probably right now as we're as this is airing. So anyway, this guy I met at Joe Fest this year, 2025. We've seen him on we've seen him on the internet not the internet. We've seen him on YouTube. He does more than a few shows now with Legend series. He does one with the Kanan. We see him on Jerkin Games all the time. He does some wonderful customizing, way better than Tony's Figs. But you know what? As we know, that guy is the second best customizer in all of Arizona. But let's not waste any more time. I want to bring on Mikey from I'm gonna screw up. It is JMK Customs.
Custom Works.
Custom Works, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I always get I want to say MJK, but I gotta remember. No, it's your dad's name first, right? Actually, we'll get into that.
It's just my initials is what it is. It's just my
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. But are you a second?
I'm not a second. He was a second. My middle name's different. So
okay. I'm the same way. My dad doesn't have a middle name. I do. It was supposed to be his middle name. And oddly enough, one day on Facebook, my uncle got into it with me, going, "No, you're a second." And I was like, "No, I'm not. My dad doesn't have a middle name." And he's like, "Yes, he does." And my dad finally chimed in. He's like, "No, I don't." I think I would know what's on my birth certificate after almost 50 years.
One would like to think so, yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining.
Well, thanks for having me.
Like I said, we met at Joe Fest. We talked on the floor. I never spoken to you before. I mentioned to you before, I didn't think you really cared for me. And again, I don't lose any sleep, and I don't expect anyone that doesn't like me to lose any sleep. But we talked, and I was like, okay, well, it's just one of those things that I just, misread you. No big deal. And I think it was Saturday night. It was Saturday or Sunday night. We sat down, not you and I, but a whole bunch of us.
We had a gag. Yeah, there was a bunch.
Yes, there was a lot of see you next Tuesdays.
That's those, yeah.
A lot. We won't say that because YouTube doesn't like that.
Sure. To be fair, most of them were from the other hemisphere, so
Yes, the Australians. I mean that's dude to them, which I didn't realize. Till Shark Guys and I kind of had a back and forth, and I was like, "You're the one that calls them this," and he goes, "That's just another word for us." So that's like saying, dude, like you call someone to see you next Tuesday here, especially a woman.
Bad deal.
Yeah, those are fighting words. I think we would agree.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, thank you so much. Let's start off. Where does the name come from? Because I thought it came from your dad and you, but
so JMK Custom Works came from. It used to be JMK Designs when I was just doing drawing and stuff. And when I got into customs, I realized that sounded a little too like graphic design.
Yep.
So I decided to go with Custom Works because that had a more accurate ring to it.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
One of the boringest explanations of a name, but
very boring. It's not exciting. I let the focus be on what I do.
No, so sometimes I get like these names and okay, this is really interesting. Other times it's like, their name, and I'm like, well, I usually ask where your name comes from, but it's your name.
Right.
Do you mind me asking how old are you and where were you born and everything?
So I'm 35. I was born in Kansas City. I live in Kansas City.
Okay.
Or just north of it, yeah.
So you are one of the younger people in this. I know there's some that are in the 20s. B's Battleground, he's in his mid 30s, and there's a few others, but for the most part, we're all old geezers. I mean, I'm approaching 50. I know I don't look it with this wonderful
Never.
wonderful young complexion. So what was your family like growing up? Did you have any siblings? Are your parents together?
I had no siblings. I was an only child. Um, but my parents were both very young when they had me. My dad was 18. My mom was 7, or he was 19. She was 18, I guess, when they had me. So it was kind of, I guess I kind of grew up with my parents, kind of because they were so young. So yeah, early 20s. I was getting into toys, so I shared toys with my dad. Like he would buy stuff, and GI Joe specifically. Like we'd go to flea markets and stuff, and you could get a bag of GI Joes for $3.
All right. So if your
That,
parents were teenagers when they had you,
mhm.
and you're the only, do you feel like you were such a bad child, you killed anything of them wanting to have another one? Or were you
Yeah.
that great that you were like, they were like, we can never top this?
Also, yes to both. Yeah. Different days probably, but yeah, it was both for sure. I know this.
um, so do you remember like the first, not the first toys you fell in love with, but like your first memories of the first toys? And I always say like, from my age, it's the adventure people or the little tykes, Hot Wheels. Do you remember like the first toys that you played with? Not again, not what you fell in love with.
Trying to think of like the earliest memories with toys, and it's the one I always come back to was I had a handful of GI Joes, and I would go play on the porch.
Okay.
Like on the porch, or we had a cellar, and it was kind of a mound of dirt that was over it, and it was great for playing with GI Joes because you didn't have to like lay down; you could kind of lean into it and play with them.
Yeah.
It was kind of convenient. So that's like the earliest ones that I can really think like there's a toy in it, and it's a memory.
And so like to me that seems so odd. But your dad is only a couple years older than I am. So he's growing up right when G.I. Joe is. And like you said, he's still very young when they have you. So I mean, if he was a collector his whole life, and I don't know if he was, maybe I'll have him on one day and talk to someone closer to my age.
There you
Um,
go.
um, it makes sense that would be like maybe a shoebox of figures that he had rather than that shoebox of. I don't even think they were Hot Wheels; they were Matchbox back then.
Mm,
So that's actually pretty cool. That like I don't talk to many people that will be like GI Joe is like the first thing I remember because most of us are
yeah,
like I remember the first commercial that that it came out.
right. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I remember one of the figures was the one I can remember was a Cobra Commander, like a bright blue Cobra Commander, and I think I had just recently got it, so this was probably mid '90s, probably at this point, because I don't think they would have let me outside by to play by myself had it not been at least 6.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
even in a very small town, the town was less than 500 people. It was as small of a town as you can get. Like it was little. Um, but yeah, as far as a memory with a toy, I know there were earlier ones of like the you know toddler toys and stuff, but I don't have many of those memories. Um, but
well, no, because your dad already knew like what was cool toys.
he did. He did. Now I say that, and now that sounds so expensive and so crazy that you would get these old GI Joes for your kid, but at that time they were only 10 years old,
We didn't know
and
yet.
they didn't have any value because we were we were broke. We did not have a lot of extra money in that house. Like
Well,
he
you
worked
know what?
overtime so he could get him toys
So
and me toys.
what year were you born? About 1990.
90, 90.
So even when you're looking at 95, 5 years old, you're going to garage sales, finding shoe boxes full of figures without thumbs or crotches.
Yep. Yep.
And
100%.
you know, even then we didn't understand. I mean, yeah, we know how to replace the O-rings with rubber bands, but most people didn't know what an O-ring was. I mean, even kids, like I would take rubber bands and I just double them up so it would fit. But we didn't
Yeah.
know how to fix thumbs and crotches like we do now.
Yeah.
Um,
And I can remember back then doing it. even at that time, like Dad had a box that was figures that had broken. They got taken apart and they'd get put in this box. It was a bright blue. Well, later it became a bright blue Lego box, but that was where the GI Joe pieces were kept. And I watched him like take pieces and build a figure, and then he'd paint it. And so then I started doing that. So I mean, I was probably 8 and taking apart, had my own screwdriver just for taking GI Joes apart and swapping O-rings.
That's so. I mean, okay. So I think it's so awesome that you can remember the actual color box.
Oh yeah, I knew that box.
You know
I
what I
knew
mean?
that
It's
box
like
very well.
it's something that like if you walked in somewhere and you saw that, you'd be like, that box had GI Joes in it. Like if you
It's
were
in
at
my
like,
garage. I have that box.
okay, that's
It is not in good condition, but I have that box.
hey, I have a few of those things still. So what was the first toy you fell in love with? I mean, can you remember the first line? Not
Ooh,
toy, but the first line. Because you're at a,
I,
yeah, I mean,
I'm.
you're in a way different age. I mean, for me, almost everyone I talk to, it's GI Joe, He Man, or Transformers.
I think for me it was still GI Joe, but it was passed through my dad.
Yeah,
It wasn't like I can remember when Power of the Force 2 was the big thing.
I love
And I
that.
remember, like, again, because my dad was a big child, if we went to Walmart or Target or Kmart, we went immediately to the toy section. Like that was immediately where we went. Me and my dad. Yep, those guys right there.
He's got muscles and everything, just like the original Darth Vader.
He's jacked, just like Darth Vader.
Just like
Han
Chewbacca.
Solo, massive.
Chewbacca. Everyone
Huge.
always missed Chewbacca's workout. It was a really cool DVD set, actually VHS set that we never really got to see.
Dude got jacked. It was like a pumping iron with Arnold, but it was Chewbacca. But yeah, like I can remember going to Walmart during that Power of the Force 2 thing, and it was literally an entire aisle that was, I mean, the pegs were stacked, and I remember
Yep.
just being like, "This is it," because I grew up with Star Wars too. Everything my dad loved got immediately passed on to me. Like I
And the
became,
Power of the Force too. Like you walked in there and it was like you said, pegs of that, but also the Millennium Falcon, the TIE
oh yeah,
Fighter, the
oh yeah,
X-Wing, like vehicles were
Pro
there.
droids, Hoth
Yeah.
playsets. It was all there.
I can remember my buddy showing up at my house with Han Solo and Chewbacca. And we went on a crusade of looking for every Kmart, every Toys R Us, every Target.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. Uh, it's kind of funny because Power of the Force, people look at it so negatively, but when I look back at it, it's kind of like that first or second job you had where you absolutely hated it while you worked there, but then when you look back at it, how much fun it was.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good way to look at it, because that is how it feels.
And you're doing it with your dad, which means you had a really close relationship with your dad. And I think most of us know it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I think that's great. Like to have that memory and the fact that you and your dad still do this together is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
it's 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 very rare, and we both know that.
it is, again, and as again, I mean, I still have a good relationship with my dad, but we don't really talk that much. It's not like we were going skateboarding together.
Right.
My
Right.
kids, they don't want to skateboard, as much as it breaks my heart, but you gotta let them do what they want to do, right?
Yep.
Um, so you said GI Joe was really what you kind of fell in love with, but it all because of older stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably the thing that was out, like that was new, and I fell in love with it like as it came out, was probably like the Toy Biz X-Men stuff, because I
Okay.
was always into X-Men. Like I loved the cartoon, and dad was a big comic book reader, so he could tell me things that happened in the comics, and I'd tell him something that happened in the cartoon. He'd be like, "Well, that's not really how it happened. Here's the story." Like that's not okay. That's cool, but yeah. So I mean, he was going to KB Toys, and I had just about every one of those Toy Biz X-Men, because they go on clearance at KB Toys all the time.
So isn't
You
it
know?
crazy now? Like you talk about like the X-Men cartoon, and your dad's like, that's not really how it is. It's now you have multiple lores. There's the whole X-Men and now X-Men 97. You
Right.
have the X-Men, comic book. Like you have all these different lores that like there's really not the whole like, well, that's not really how it happened. Well, it really happened here.
Right.
Look at the MCU, same thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there are people that will fight and to the death on that's not how it's supposed to be. And it's like, okay, but that's how it is here.
Right. Yeah. If they would have with the X-Men cartoons, if they would have just like assigned it a universe, like like
Yep.
typical Marvel is 616. Like if they'd have just been like this is universe 819, you'd be like, oh, okay. Well, then you just do whatever you want. And there's like, oh, no, it's a different universe. That's fine.
Yeah, I wish
Now
they
it's
did that.
now we understand it. Like now it's like, oh, everything has a multiverse. Oh, that happened, but what timeline?
They
Back
should
then it
do
was
that
just
with
like there's X-Men.
the G.I. Joe movies. So it's out of every timeline.
I'd be all right with that. Yeah, do whatever you want. Like, yeah, this is this time, whatever.
Or if you want to do good G.I. Joe movies, just start reading the comics and adapt them to now, and you have a
That's it, man. The
perfect
stories are
screenplay.
there. The stories are
Yeah,
there. You could time piece them and everything. Let it take place in during after Vietnam. I'm okay with all that. Do
or
it.
yeah, or just you can change the time, right? There are still conflicts going on, so that
Oh yeah.
LARP team doesn't have to be in Vietnam. It could be in,
Be a Kandahar. I mean, whatever, dude. It doesn't matter.
but they just ignore those books. Other than the silent interlude part, which I actually really like in the second G.I. Joe movie.
The mountain scene, yeah.
Yes, I do like that. It's still good. But anyway, okay. So what other lines you said like X-Men? Were there any other lines that you were really into as a young kid? I don't like saying collecting. You may have actually been collecting because of your dad, but it also sounds like your dad. It sounds like your dad didn't just be like, "Hey, you need to put these in this, leave them in the box for later on." It sounds like you were
No,
able to play with your
never.
toys.
Yeah, that was growing up. He had very few things that were kept in the box, and they were usually protected. They're usually in some container. They weren't out. Everything that was out was pretty much loose or open to play with, right? Because that's what we did. I mean, we would get our Joes, and be it 4 inch, 3 3/4, or 12-inch Joes. A few years later, we'd get our Joes together. He'd come up with a story, and we'd sprawl out and do a big battle. And it'd be like we'd watch a movie like Tears of the Sun or something.
I love that
Which I
movie.
I can remember him taking me out of school so we could go to the city and see that at the theater.
Wow.
Like I we would do something like that, and then be like, all right, now we're gonna play it out with the Joes. So and so's trapped behind enemy
I
lines. We got
I
this
love that.
team to go get them. And
Yeah, I love that movie.
it's
And that's
great
awesome
movie,
that you have
so good.
that memory of like being
Oh,
taken
dude.
out of school to go see
It was
Tears of
it
the
was
Sun.
not an uncommon thing. It was something that we did every once in a while. I'd get scooped out of school like an hour early, and we'd go to the city and see a movie. Like I remember several of those.
That's
They were the
awesome.
best.
And I think it's super. I think it's cool like that your dad was playing with you because I mean I can speak for myself. It's harder and harder when you have kids to get on the ground and play with them.
Sure.
I look at like Toy Domination, and he's out there playing with his kids.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah.
It is. I couldn't. First off, Dom, if you're watching, dude, too much mud in those figures. Okay, too much mud in the toys. He posted something, and he's like, I messaged him, and he goes, "I meant to tag you because of all the mud." I'm like, so I mean, it is harder and harder as you get older in general to get on the ground. Like getting on the ground is actually easier. It's getting up.
Yeah,
But
for
playing
sure.
with your kids because you see things so differently, and that's why I know like when I've had people ask me like, "What do you consider playing with your toys?" I'm like, for me, it's setting them up in dioramas and taking pictures. Even though my photography is not great, it's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Um, it's not just doing the YouTube and then putting them back in a box or in a bin. Other people like Dom and obviously your dad and stuff, like they were actually playing with their kids with it, which I
100%.
think is awesome because there are other ways to play with your toys other than just do YouTube or just buy them. And I'll never understand inbox collecting, but it's your money and you
Yep.
do what you want. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. It seems like that's my joy is after they're in the box.
Yeah.
So it's hard
No.
for me to see the joy that you get in the box.
Now, with that said, if I end up coming home with a tote of unopened Star Wars and GI Joe figures from the late 70s and 80s, no one's opening them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
I'm not,
wouldn't want to. I
sitting
wouldn't want to
there.
break the seal.
I might be looking to sell those things off. So so as you start getting older, and like going to middle school, are you still playing with toys?
Yeah. So I would say middle school, I still would have been into 12-inch GI Joes, at least probably 6th grade or whatever.
Now,
Um,
does a 12-inch
Probably.
come from your dad?
Yep,
Or that sounded so wrong. Um,
that did. Pause. So the 12-inch GI Joe thing, like he wasn't into 12-inch GI
okay.
Joes when a Real American Hero was out, but at that time he could go to garage sales and he could get those for nothing.
All right.
So he had some, um, but they didn't. They weren't as important as the 3 3/4. Like that was where his allegiance went, and that was where it stayed. But as the mid late '90s came in, 12-inch GI Joes became huge. I mean, they blew up, and then other companies started doing them. 21st Century and Dragon was making these posable models, and later Blue Box Toys, and so all these guys were coming out with this stuff, and he got connected with these people that lived in the city, and they distributed from inside their house.
Okay.
Their entire basement was a warehouse of like 1/6 scale figures, and he could literally go there, and it was like the shopping scene in Commando where Arnold's just getting Arsenal and loading up the cart, except it was 12-inch GI Joes and
Your dad
parallel
didn't smash
brands.
into the house with.
No, 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 no. It was way too nice of a neighborhood for that.
Okay.
He had to knock on the door. Yeah, and
And
he
then
did
turn,
pay.
and
He
then
paid for them. I want to be clear about that point. He paid for these. But yeah, we
way
would,
down
and it
Tong
was
didn't have to break them out.
yeah, no, it wouldn't like that. We didn't have to fly on a seaplane or anything. Uh, but there were a few
Well,
times he would
that would
take
have
me
been a
up
way
there.
better story if you would have went on with that.
I know it would have, but then people would have questioned him. He would know what to do there. But he would take me up there a couple of times. I mean, because if we go to the city, then we can hit, this many Walmarts, we can hit this many Toys R Us. He had this map laid out, this route. And so we get to Ken and Gale's. And I remember one time we showed up and they had on their dining room table, and this was a beautiful house. It was a massive, beautiful house in a gorgeous neighborhood. And on their dining room table, they had a World War II diorama that was that had like 21st Century came out with these Sherman tanks. I mean, you're talking, it was about 2 feet long,
Yeah.
and it was scaled with this diorama. So they had World War II figures set up. I mean, that diorama had to be like a 4x4 square, and it was about 2 feet tall. It was a two-story building. It was sick, and I just remember seeing that and being like, this this is a thing. Like you can do this. Like this whole time, I'm like stacking Kleenex boxes and rocks and stuff to build, a fort or whatever. And here's this, 4 foot long diorama that is just detailed so beautifully. And there's a tank, and oh my gosh, yeah, it was
But
crazy. Then you go into the basement, it was a kid in a candy store. Like I'd never seen so many toys.
but I mean, people think it's so weird that like, oh, you have action figures and and you do dioramas. But it's like you've seen people with their train sets and their slot cars. It is a world that they've built, and I can't speak for you. I know for me, when I would see like someone that had a model train set, it was like especially to put all that work into it. I loved it. All the little trees, the little people that
I
it's
did
going
too.
by. I loved it. And I didn't even realize like I didn't realize that I'm looking at someone who spent hours upon hours creating stuff because
Yeah,
you don't just buy it. You might buy little pieces, but then you have to put it together.
yeah. It comes from your imagination. They give you the pieces, but you gotta build the picture.
The only difference, and not the only one of the things, I think once you build a train set or a slot, you're not changing it all the time. But a lot with our action figures, we might be changing it up all the time.
Sure.
But there are other people that build something and it's like, this is how it's staying for the next 5 years. And then they'll finally tinker with it. And anyone that's decided, hey, I'm going to change my display around, it's 4 days later that you're like, why did I do this?
I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done this. This is a terrible idea.
The reviews have killed me because I would go down. I'm like, all right, well, I got to grab this guy because I want to compare him to this, especially the O-ring stuff. Then you don't, especially if you get waves of figures, you don't put stuff away right away. And next thing I know, I'm looking in the O-ring room. I'm going, this is a disaster. And then I'm looking at my display case. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, because you hit one and then 4 of them not, because I don't use stands.
Oh, yeah.
4 of them go down. And then you're like, well, you know what? I might as well just change some things up. And I don't know if you have Mythic Legions, but they have like
only a couple.
They have their either the big antlers on some of them, or the bow staffs, and you don't even think about it, and you go to move it, and next thing you know, it's like, and you're like,
yeah, just dominoes.
Gargoyles are the other one. I don't know if you have the gargoyles.
I have one. I took him down because it was like, your wings are a fucking problem, bud.
Everyone complained about the wings, and I'm like, it's not the wings, it's the tails, because you have to hide the tails. So
I was putting him in the back. So the one time I went to get him, he just knocked over everything because I was conscientious of the tail, but the wings are like, yeah, they're against the wall. It's fine. No.
See, I was like, I have all the gargoyles together, and you're watching the wings and not realizing that tail is taking up a demonia. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, and you're like,
yeah,
I hate you. Thank you, NECA, for stop making them. Also, screw you, NECA, for stopping to make them because I want more. Okay, so before we get into high school, you said like your dad was customizing stuff, and you were watching him paint.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like he pretty much said, "Hey, here's your own paint set. There's a box of figures. Do your thing." Is that kind of?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. He had his, and then he would just be like, "Yeah, just do whatever you want, put pieces together." And I'd like show it to him, and if there was something like, "Okay, don't use that because I'm going to use that," then you didn't, you moved on, you picked something else. But yeah, I remember, my first set of testers, model paints, and about the time that I started getting into that, because with O-rings you can spray paint. It's the hard plastic. It takes spray paint. So that was how we painted base coats for all that stuff.
Okay.
So whereas, the soft plastic, like new stuff, it doesn't adhere right, most of it, unless it's the vinyl specific paint. It's okay. But so about that time, he decided to start teaching me how to spray. So we got model cars, and I learned how to paint with model cars and how to paint, even coats and not go too thick to prevent from, runs and stuff like that. So about the time that I was old enough, he thought I could start painting. He started teaching me how to paint. So then I had assembly down. I knew how to paint. And then, then it was starting to get into detail work. And detail work, again, we practiced on model cars, because if you can paint the dash to look like a car dash, then you can move on to a figure.
Which there's a lot of companies that are selling $200 to $400 vehicles that don't paint the dash.
No, they don't. And
I may have one of them.
It looks cheap. It looks cheap.
It does. It does. It costs a lot of money to do that. That's why I'll say, you say what you want about those Vamps and even the All-Striker and the Stingers. Like, those dashes have detail to them and have some paint on them. And I'm like, that's
100%.
When you take a picture inside of it, especially that All-Striker, you're like, this is nice.
It does look good.
I paid $325 for a Rumbler. And hey, there's a lot of detail on that dash.
You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it.
No, but you put a working winch on it which seems awesome. Other than like I do photography. What does a working winch really do for lights? Awesome. But that rumbler, even though I do like it and I use it an awful lot,
Yeah,
eh, was it worth $325 and the hassle?
that seems
Probably not.
yeah, that seems steep.
But do I like it? Yes. Would I buy it
Sure,
again? Probably.
sure. Yeah, I know the vehicles are so strange because, again, like I remember with the whole 1/6 craze, like you could go to Toys R Us and you could get a one scale Humvee, and it was 80, $100. You know, you could get a Little Bird, a helicopter, 1/6 scale, and it was like I think that one was like 120 maybe, if that. Like I had those, and I remember how amazing they were and how cool they felt. Like the Humvees that were so solid, the wheels were
A
heavy,
1/6
tires
though.
were real. Yeah,
I mean, a 1/6 Little Bird is going to be as big
it
as the
was large,
Dragonfly.
bigger. It was bigger than Dragonfly. I think its tail was as big as the Dragonfly.
And I kind of remember seeing those. It's not something that I would really look at because that's something I was interested in.
Right.
That's just how do you don't even play with that?
Oh, I played with it.
You are a big guy.
You betcha.
Son.
You betcha. I was out there running it around, you know, and
I can't even bring the Dragonfly or the Rattler up the stairs without banging against the wall. All right. You know, you're going up the steps and you're like, I mean, the Dragonfly is one thing because the propeller just turns. If you
right.
decide you're not going to close the wings and you're like, please don't fall.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
or this Rattler.
Yeah.
So the O-ring one or the Sky Striker, when I take it up and down the stairs, it flies. I'll just say that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If you got to move it, I don't care if I'm just moving it 2 feet over. I'm making sound effects.
Now imagine if you have an aircraft carrier that your Sky Striker's taking off from.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not saying it's
100%.
happened, but there's a good chance that it's happened.
Oh, for sure.
So as a young kid, you got into your customizing, and you probably didn't know what it was. You're just painting with your dad.
Yeah.
So you go through middle school, and again, middle school is it's that age where most kids are still playing with toys, but no one admits it.
Right.
And then 30 years later, well, you're not 30 years later, but 20 years later, 10 years later, you realize, oh, we were all playing with the toys, yet none of us wanted to admit it.
Yeah.
But then we get into high school. Now,
Yes.
I feel like it might be a little different for you because your dad had constantly been collecting and buying stuff.
Right.
But what was it like with your friends? Now, were you still living in a very small town?
So for high school, we moved. So I went from a town of, let's say at 400 at the time. I went and we moved into a city of about 14,000. So
It's still not huge, but
it's not huge, but it was a huge deal for us. Like,
yes,
this is a big town. Like Springfield was right there, but Republic was, I want to say it was about 14,000.
Isn't that where Cobra's from?
Or who?
Springfield, isn't that where Cobra's at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was definitely part of it because Springfield, right, associated with Cobra, Republic associated with Star Wars.
Oh, so, yeah.
That definitely played a factor why we lived in Republic, because Dad wanted the Republic,
I love it.
And if I wish the high school would have been like, the Commandos or something. It could have been the Republic Commandos, but it was the Tigers. It's pretty lame. It's like the most common high school name,
Hey, Detroit Tigers.
Hey, no. I'm still a Tiger. It's still orange and black, but
don't get me wrong. There's some very generic team names out there.
Our rivals were also Tigers. It was ridiculous.
See, that's again, this is totally off. That's the one thing I really like about the Red Wings. If anyone ever does Red Wings again, you can't say, well, we weren't copying off the Detroit Red Wings. Like, yeah, you were. There's no such thing as Red Wings.
They don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. Lions, Tigers, Bears,
Eagles, Falcons. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean Pistons, I guess, but I always laugh because when the Detroit Pistons changed their logo to the horses' heads, they're like, yeah, like a piston. That's like a thoroughbred racehorse. And I was like, I thought it was about like engines because it's
Engine part.
Detroit.
It's
Yes,
Detroit.
but you
Yeah.
wanted teal piston. You wanted teal horses, so whatever.
Yeah. Do whatever you want. You're not
Um,
asking me for my opinion.
no, believe me. Um, so high school. What are you doing in high school? Are you still collecting? Are you still doing stuff with your dad? And are you letting people know? Now,
So
you're also growing up. I don't want to say this. You're growing up in a different era than me, where it is a little bit probably a little bit more acceptable. But
a little.
if you're doing customs and stuff like that, people don't look at it as playing with your toys. You're workshopping. You are this artistic person. I have no artistic ability, so
So I think so. This is now the early 2000s, and I think there was a transition period there, probably my eighth grade year. It most guys go through this, right? You hit puberty, and your focus is no longer toys, right?
yeah.
You're focusing on girls and doing big boy stuff because you're a man,
Yes, I
right?
skateboarded.
So
Big
yeah,
boy.
there you go, skateboarding, big boy stuff. So
Everyone
I
looks for a
remember
little wooden toy.
right. I remember around that time was when the Marvel Legends started coming out,
Okay.
and so I remember collecting those even after we moved. Still, my dad would still get me some of those, but as I got into high school, I stopped playing with toys so much and was kind of collecting them. So, like my room, all the walls were full of stuff that I was collecting. Like at
Okay.
that time, I'd gotten really into cars. Like even in middle school, I was into cars. So I had, a shelf that was all die-cast cars, and then I had
Now,
a
were you into
Star
like
Wars shelf.
now were you into cars? Like you actually like actual cars or model cars and stuff like that?
So actual cars.
Okay, which
So
translates into wanting to have the model cars
some
and
kind
stuff
of
like that.
representation,
Okay.
right? So dad was always into cars too. It was just it took kind of a back seat to toys. So we always had that too. Um, but
Your dad's very mature.
yeah, he is. He's very mature. He's a big boy.
I really like cars, like Lamborghinis and Vipers, but they take a
Yeah,
backseat to my O-ring
yeah.
figure.
This toy is way cooler though, and I can
I,
own it. so, so like we were into cars coming into high school. You start thinking about like, well, I'm gonna want a car soon, right? So we looked at cars, and we did that kind of stuff. But at that time, like I think it was more about collecting. And so like I said, I had a die cast shelf. I had um, some of the Star Wars guys were on my wall. I had Hot Wheels, and then the rest of it was like posters and art and stuff like that. So it was like I'm sure there's some picture that exists of that room because it was absolutely ridiculous the amount of shit that was on the walls and the different things. Like on the back of my door was like a fucking 5 foot tall Hal Jordan poster. Like it was huge. And then there'd be art on the wall, and then there'd be toys, and it was everything. Um, but I don't remember playing with anything outside of the Marvel Legends. Like he would get those, and I'd play with those for a little while, but it wasn't like what it used to be.
but your idea again, I can't speak for everyone because my moderator Ed Action Bigs, he's like I've always played with toys. I mean, he told a story that he goes there was one day that my wife had to go to work and she came home early and I'm on the stairs setting stuff up playing and she was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm playing with my toys." And she was like, "I'm just gonna go in the other room and you do whatever you do." You know,
Whatever,
like
whatever's happening here, just do
yeah.
it.
To me, again, for me, there came a change. Where setting your Joes up or your Transformers and having them fight wasn't a lot of fun anymore.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think I would ever be able to get back to that. And even with my kids, like I always enjoyed setting stuff up, but the actual act of playing wasn't a lot of fun anymore.
Yeah.
But not everyone is like that. But I think that's where your transition of playing comes. So
Yeah, the definition changed for me. Like,
yeah, I mean, I have all these figures around me, and I don't like really. I move them around and everything, but it's like sometimes Deadpool talks to people. I'm not gonna lie.
oh yeah, of course,
Deadpool can just be put it anywhere, and like you can talk to the camera. It's pretty fun. So no, I do understand that, but again, you're in a different era that if someone walked in your room and saw these, it's like, hey, I just collect them and I have them up on the walls, and you probably don't think too much about it.
Right. Yeah. And I think at by that time, I mean, again, a little bit in middle school too, but I think by that time my focus was more on video games. I think
Okay.
because I mean that was pretty awesome times for video games. I mean, that was the Xbox 360 came out in when I was in high school. PlayStation 2s. So it was intense. So that was mostly what my friends and I did. Like we'd come over to my house and be surrounded by my room of ridiculous toys, but they were over to play Rock Band. Like that's what we were doing, because by my junior year, I had a full-time job. I was working 40 hours a week. So we'd come over, we had about an hour and a half before I had to get ready to go to work. So yeah, let's get some Guitar Hero in so I can go to work. you
So,
know?
so you're working full time in high school. You're still collecting. Are you doing any customizing with your dad at this point, or is this kind of like those
No.
teenage years where you just again you don't really talk to your parents as much or hang out with them nearly as much?
Yeah, so we still hung out a lot, but by that time we hung out in the garage. Like we would be working on,
Okay.
whatever project I had at the time. So we'd be out, working on a car instead of customizing toys like we used to.
But you have your own set of friends that and
Right.
now you're able to go out. And even if you don't have a car at the time, you probably have a
Yep.
friend that can pick you up and
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Yep. We'd be going to, bonfires or going to the bowling alley to watch somebody play or whatever it was. Like, yeah, I was home a lot less. And with working, I was rarely home at night.
Now, what is your mom like during all of this? Is she just fully accepting of your dad being a very immature child and making sure that their son is just as immature of a child?
She was definitely not okay with any of this. I mean, she was okay because my mom loved us, more than anything, but she she's never been into anything like that. She's never collected anything like that. I mean, she's collected stuff. She collected like Bugs Bunny stuff when I was a kid
Okay,
and PepsiCo stuff. She loved that stuff when I was a kid.
but doesn't
But
understand the obsession.
yeah, it's not like that. Like now it's pretty much the only thing she collects is like Chiefs stuff and like rustic snowman
Well,
things.
that's a shocker. She's in the Chiefs where
So,
you guys live.
I know, I know.
Did,
Uh,
did she ever ask you to talk like the quarterback?
no, it's
Has
not.
she
It's not
real
one of her voices.
has
She
she
loves
realized it?
Trump voice, but not that
Has
one.
she realized it yet?
Oh, she knows. She
Okay,
knows.
because I didn't realize it till we were talking. I was like I don't want to be
Oh, it's
rude, but
there. It's there. Yeah.
then you go right into Kermit, which is
Yeah. It's just a degree off. But I mean, like the house I grew up in when I was in high school.
right now. Wait, now, right now, everyone is going, "Oh my god, he does sound like him." Now, if you don't know who we're talking
The
about,
thing.
It's Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback's chief, the
Hmm. Hmm.
quarterback of the Chiefs.
Hmm.
Mikey sounds a lot like him.
It is what it is.
You can't change it. Like, I mean,
You
that's
can't. You
people
can't.
tell me I sound like a girl, and I'm like, yeah, can't change nothing.
I
Whatever.
didn't catch that, but okay. But
I've had a high pitched voice my whole life. So when I was younger, I answer the phone. People would be like, "Oh, is this Mrs. So and So?" I'm like, "Nope, doesn't
no,
bother me."
I'll get her. I'll get her for you. We our dining room wall, Dad made it like into a Chiefs mural. So he painted the logo on the center, and then on the edges was like memorabilia and the McFarland toy, the statues of players, and he had a couple of customs made. So she had like a Derek Thomas one and stuff like that. So that was about the extent of her collecting. She's never understood like this. This is foreign to her.
This
But
drive.
so is the whole pop culture thing. Like she's not into movies or anything like that. So it's it was a lot of it was a big culture clash in the household.
Sounds like it.
You have one person that this is what they do, and the other one that is so not into any of this shit.
So what is your relationship with your mom growing up?
Growing up was rough. Like we butted heads all the time. Um, we we got along when I was a little kid, but as I grew up, say from, you know, 10 through the teens, we butted heads, and Dad's time was precious because he was gone a lot. He worked all the time.
Okay.
And so, when he came home, like I wanted to play GI Joes and she wanted time with her husband, like we butted heads because we were fighting for the attention of one person. So we literally fought. I mean, we screamed at each other. It was awful. I treated my mom like shit, and I feel horrible about it. But, you know, after all of that, when I got into high school, it it mellowed out. Like we didn't fight as much, and now I have a closer relationship with my mom than I ever did. But
I
it took
think
time.
everything that you just said, your self awareness of how you were and how it changed says so much about you. In all
Mhm.
honesty, like some people will never understand, like you're like, hey, we wanted the same thing. We wanted the attention from this one guy.
Yeah.
I wanted it a certain way. She probably wanted it a different way. Uh,
Yep. Sure.
but as you got older, like you said, like you started realizing it. And as you got much older, like you said, now you have a great relationship with her. So I have a lot of respect for that because a lot of people, it's not that they don't know, they just refuse to accept that,
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
reason why my relationship is poor. And it goes on both sides. So I have a lot of respect for
Sure.
that.
Well, I appreciate that. But
Especially
yeah,
considering you
that's
have
the
so much
facts.
in common with your dad.
Hmm.
So, okay. So as you now, did you get into comic books or anything?
I was into comic books very lightly. Like I
Okay.
remember again when I was a little kid, you know, we would go to GI Joe shows that existed at the time. Like, so DeSimone, he would have some GI Joe conventions that were just on the other side of St. Louis, so just in Illinois. He had GI Joe conventions, and at that time it was mostly 12-inch stuff,
Okay.
some 3 3/4 stuff, but it was mostly vintage. But I remember going to those places and people would have comic books, and they were like, two for $1. You could get
Yeah.
GI Joe comic books, like they weren't much. So I could go there and I could get a couple of books. I remember my first one was Special Missions #1 with Wetsuit and Torpedoes hanging off the side of that boat. It was the first GI Joe comic I ever bought. I loved it. It's still one of my favorites. Like, so I would get comic books and I would read them. I remember staying up, later than I should have, cover over my head with the flashlight, reading comic books in the bed. Mikey, are you in bed? Yeah. Okay. Fucking whoa. And I remember doing that. Like I had some X-Men stuff. Like when I was a kid, my dad he was friends with a guy that ran a comic book store in a town that wasn't quite Kansas City, but it was closer than we were. And so he would do work for him, like drawing, and we were in there every once in a while. That was where I bought my first 12-inch GI Joe. It's where I bought my first comic book, you know. And I remember those things. So comics were definitely part of it, but they were a very small part.
Okay. Just like enough to get like a little bit of lore, some
Hmm.
ideas, stuff like that.
Yep.
And that's fully
Yep.
understandable. I remember I read the G.I. Joe comic books for a while. And that's where most of my ideas and lore comes from. And I'll still say this, as far as I'm concerned, the real American hero, the whole headcanon comes from uh, Larry Hama.
Hmm.
Larry Hama is the George Lucas of G.I. Joe, as far as I'm concerned. Again, you can have your own, and I have my own too in some ways, but it's like if
Sure.
Larry Hama said that didn't happen, I'd be like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's like if George Lucas, to this day, if he said that doesn't happen in Star Wars, I'd be like, I don't care that Disney owns it. It's your baby.
I
Hasbro
would
can own
I
it.
would mostly agree, but with Larry Hama when he signed off on the Snake Eyes movie, and I was like, okay, maybe there's a little corruption here because there's no way that's the Snake Eyes you wrote. It's just not.
True, but I'm talking about. Well,
It's not.
I do remember that too.
He wasn't an Asian man, and he didn't talk. Like both of those things were very important pieces of his story, right?
I
Like,
I hated arguing with people. What does it matter? I don't know. It's the same. It's the same reason why when there was rumors that Esposito was rumored to be Magneto, and I'm like, no, he needs to be a white Jewish man. Why? Because that's his whole
it's his
reason for
story.
who he is.
Yeah, yeah. Snake Eyes his story doesn't have much of an impact if he's not an outsider in the clan.
Yes.
He was a white boy that made him stick out. You know, he was the Gaijing or whatever. You know, like he was the outsider. It's a part of his story that he overcame that and became one of the best and brightest pupils of the
I
Arashikage clan. Like that's part of his story. I don't care what color his hair is. He doesn't have to be blonde. That doesn't play a part. But
Well, he's gonna have a mask
being
underneath.
mute and being a white boy, it's part of his story. Like,
Yeah. And again, again when you have these arguments with people, and again, I always go to the Magneto one. I'm like Esposito, he's a great actor. He is. Can he act as a Jewish white guy?
can he play a Jewish Holocaust survivor? Like it's a
Yes.
big deal. It's a big part of his story.
It's a small part of who Magneto is. Just like you said, Snake Eyes. Like he is this Caucasian white dude that has no Japanese ancestry. He's taken in by them. It's who he is. It's what makes him who he is.
Yeah.
And again, I can go back to the movie and say, like, okay, you took Ripcord and you made Ripcord Marlon Wayans. First off, why you would use Marlon Wayans for anything, that's on you. Ripcord was always a side character. So if that's one that you wanted to change the race, I can get it. You don't change Gung Ho. You don't change
Yeah.
Duke. I mean, you don't change
Yeah.
Roadblock. Again, this
Ripcord's race doesn't. Ripcord is my favorite GI Joe, by the way. That's my favorite guy. So I don't care that it's a black guy playing him. That doesn't matter to me. But you made him not a paratrooper.
yes.
So why use Ripcord?
You just use his name.
You know, like that's weird. Like there's so many other people you could have picked. Like it's bizarre. Their choices are so bizarre.
I
I
mean,
still watch
again,
them because it's like a guilty pleasure thing, but I'm not proud of it.
I'm not proud of it.
I'm not proud of it. Okay. Ray Parker does a great Snake Eyes.
Oh,
Okay?
dude.
I'll watch Adrian Palicki anytime. Like there's just things that about it. I'm like Bruce Willis. Okay, let's do it. You know.
You go to the first G.I. Joe movie, and I think that the casting was spot on for some characters. The Baroness, perfect.
Great.
I think we all can agree.
Yeah.
Scarlet,
Great.
perfect.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes, can't complain. Duke, fine actor.
Okay.
He didn't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
But again, when I looked at the original G.I. Joe, and I know we're off topic here, why not Stalker? Why did you bring, like, first off, I never liked Heavy Duty to begin with, but it should have been Roadblock, not Heavy Duty. And
Yeah.
the fact that you're the one that gets him to like he gets to say Yo Joe over everyone.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole nother. That's a whole.
Very
But then you go to the second
Very
movie and
strange.
it's like Jinx works. I have
That was
no
fun.
problem. I think the whole silent interlude part, Storm Shadow, I think we can all agree was perfect. Firefly, I
I like
we could
Firefly.
recast a better
Ray
joke.
Stevens great. But the Flint, terrible. Absolutely awful. The way they did the character. I don't care about the casting, but that character was
He
terrible.
was more Falcon than anything.
Yeah, like what are you doing here? No, that's
Yeah.
not that's read the file card, man. What about that file card makes you think he's the dickhead that's gonna run into a opposing fort and pull up a G.I. Joe flag on the flagpole? What where are you getting that? Because he smiles? Like what? He's got to act like Chuckles in the animated show. Or you just go rip a missile off and throw it. Like, what are you doing? No, quit. He's a warrant officer for God's sake.
Yeah, yeah, I can say. To me, it was like they cast him and they're like, "Hey, it's the guy with the beret," and someone was like, "Oh, you mean Flint?" And he was like, "Yeah, that one." And they
Yeah,
really
whatever.
wanted Falcon.
So dumb. But the
Um,
Cobras look great. The hiss looks awesome. Like they did so many things right.
yeah, even the what was I don't think a lot of people fully caught it, but what was supposed to be the water moccasin.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, that thing's
That looks
cool.
awesome. The, the
Yeah,
the hiss, the way that it raised up, that was
very
awesome.
cool.
There's a lot of there's a lot of
There's a lot of good stuff, but the bad stuff's really bad.
the bad takes away from it.
Really bad.
It's like this is good, but this is bad. Like, oh
This is
man,
so
like
bad it overshadows. Yeah, it's rough.
it's one step forward, two steps back.
That's it. That's it. Mhm.
And yet we're all going, did anyone read the comic books?
Yeah.
They literally
Everyone,
outlined the whole
pick one up
what to
real
do.
quick. Just glance at it. Just peruse it.
All right. So as you graduate, you said you're already working. Um, do you go to college? Do you go right into the workforce?
So I went to community college for a couple of semesters because that was what advisors said I needed to do. Right. So that was part of being in my generation. Is that was the only way that guidance counselors said you could be successful at anything was to go into college, accrue a bunch of debt that you can't handle, and go into college and take a bunch of prereqs that you don't need. That's the best way to start life. It's a rough start. I won't get into that anymore. But um, so
That's almost as dumb as spending a whole bunch of money on toys to review in hopes to get. Wait a minute, forget it. Um,
so my school had what was called the A+ program. So if you hit a certain average, you got 2 years of school.
okay.
So that was what I did. Um, and so I went to school at that time. I was positive that what I wanted to do was design cars. I was drawing. I took almost every art class I had available to me from middle school through high school, with the exception of ceramics. Um, I took everything I could, and that was what I intended. So I was drawing a lot. I was painting. I was doing a lot of marker renderings, and I wanted to design cars. My hero was Chip Foose. That's what I wanted to do. And so I went into school to do graphic design, and I I went to about 50% of my classes. There was a lot of driving around and smoking. There were several trips to Brahms instead of going to class. There was a lot of things that were done instead of school. Um, and I'll tell anybody who asks about the uh, the the school thing is, they always told me, like, don't take time off because you'll lose interest in it. And I think that was the worst advice for me personally. Like, I think I should have taken a year off and figured my stuff out a little bit and then gone and pursued school instead of going from school hating school and then signing up for more of it. I think it was kind of a recipe for disaster. So So anyway, I went to the classes that I did go to, and I quickly learned that designing cars now is AutoCAD. It's drawing by keyboard and equations, and that is not how I draw. I'm an organic, I don't like to use the word, but artist. Like I draw with my hands.
Okay.
Math is not how I draw. I'm okay with math, but that's not how I see a picture. I don't see through the fucking matrix. You know what I mean? Like that's not my brain. So like I did okay in the class, but I quickly learned that there was no passion. That I did not care about this at all. So then I lost interest and quit going. Then the next time I signed up because I was like, okay, I've had a semester off. Now I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. I learned that I really liked cooking, and so I went in for culinary. The thing they don't really tell you is if you go into culinary, you have about a year before you start doing anything culinary related. All of your prereqs have to be done before you start that. So instead of cooking, I was learning about food health and safety. And as a 19-year-old, I, that doesn't keep my attention. Like I was hoping to like learn how to cook, like learn different
Yeah.
techniques and cutting methods, and not caloric intake and how to measure BMI. Like that's so I lost interest, and then I didn't go back. I just stayed in the workforce. I never stopped working full time.
Okay.
Even in high school, I went to school all day. I worked, I was a closer, so I'd work from like 4 to 1, and I did the same thing through college, through the 2 semesters that I went. And then after I was like, this isn't doing it for me. So I stopped going. I just kept working.
So
And
what were you doing? Like, what were you doing for work?
I was still on doing the same job I'd had since I was 16. I worked at McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked at McDonald's for almost 6 years.
Okay.
That wasn't my first job, but it was, as far as the government was concerned, it was my first job. When I was 14 and 15, I worked at fireworks stands in
Okay.
Kansas City with my uncle, and that taught me like the basics. Between that and a couple summers working with my grandpa, he was a carpenter. Um, he's a preacher too, but obviously I didn't do anything with that side of it. But he was a carpenter, so I helped him
No,
build his shop.
I spent a night with you at Joe Fest. You're no preacher.
I am
You
not.
might have been preaching some stuff, but it had nothing to do
I
with
can I can
the
I can
Lord.
stand behind a pupil, but I can't. I can preach, but I can't. Gospel's not my strong suit for sure.
So,
Um,
are you still collecting at this time? Are you doing stuff? Have you gone back into
nope.
collecting? You're not
At
doing
this
anything with
time,
your
I
dad.
wasn't
No
collecting anything.
customizing, no painting.
Mm-mm. At this time, I wasn't collecting anything. All of my money through most of most of high school and into that time was going towards project cars that never finished. Like it was just dumping money into cars and I never seeing a good end result. Um, that's always what it was. So
Sounds
that's where
like
my money went.
some people's customs that they start and then they move on to the next one.
Well, it sounds like some of my customs. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't finish all of them either.
So,
But yeah, that's what it was. There was no collecting at that time.
so it sounds like you still don't work at McDonald's. Sounds like you moved on.
I moved on early early 20s. I think I was 22 when I
Okay.
left McDonald's.
So what did you again? Now you're in the workforce. You have no intention of going back to school.
Right.
Are you looking for a career? Are you looking just for a job? Are you still not sure of what you want to do or what's going on?
I am at this point. I am definitely not sure what I want to do. Um, I knew what I didn't want to do. Um, but it was about that time when I found out about like going to call them clubs. It wasn't like disco clubs, but
What
they
is
were I'm talking about a cowboy bar is what I'm talking about.
what the hell's a cowboy bar?
Like a bar that's like line dancing,
Okay,
two-stepping, that kind of stuff.
column. Okay,
Yeah. So
we live in different areas of the country.
we do. So most people like at my age were going to clubs at that time. So like, clubs, right? High price
That sounds
drinks,
awful too.
terrible music, crazy lights,
Wait, so you decided to go
and
to
I
country
hated that.
music?
Yeah, I hated that. I knew I didn't like that, but at that time I had started working for um it was a telemarketing company, but I didn't do telemarketing. I did credit card servicing for USAA Bank. It was
Okay,
still a call center, but that was my first job outside of McDonald's.
I think I know
And
USAA only because of those Grant commercials.
yep, yep, yep. So to do those, they're very very serious about their credit card servicing because you're dealing with military members. Sometimes you're high ranking colonel or something. You have to
Okay,
be very there's a certain way they did it. And it took about a month of training before you started the job. And work would start, it started like 6 a.m. and we went to like 3. And so you have a class and we got kind of a tight knit class. We went out after work and we bonded and did all that stuff. And it was through that we started going to this cowboy bar because that's what some of them wanted to do. Then I realized that I really liked cowboy bars. That's a fun time for me. And so that kind of became the focus was going out and dancing and drinking and hitting on girls and all that was about that time. So there was definitely no collecting at this point.
so is there a chance to get some line dancing from you? Either at
Yep. I did
AR.
very little line dancing. I did very little line dance. It was mostly
Okay,
two-stepping, you know.
I don't know the difference. I don't. Hey, listen, I
Two
hear
step
country.
two-stepping is solo. It's one-on-one. You've got a girl, the guy
Okay,
leads two-step.
I hear
Line
country
dancing is
music.
the group of people and they're all doing the same steps.
Okay, I hear country music, and it may be the worst music I've ever heard next to reggae. Just in my opinion, right?
I agree with reggae, but I love country music most of the time.
And that's what's again. This I tell people country sucks. They go, "What if I say punk sucks?" I go, "Then it doesn't change how I feel about it." Like,
Yeah,
you can hate
no,
it. I don't
yeah.
really
We all,
care. Like,
we all get our opinions.
exactly.
Each of them matters just as little as the next.
I tell people like soccer sucks, and they go, "What if I said skateboarding sucks?" I go, "Awesome. It doesn't change how I feel about it." Like,
That's how you feel about it. Okay.
I'm not gonna ask you to come skate with me anyway, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You ain't gotta worry. I'm not gonna talk to you about
Like, so
it.
you find these cowboy bars that you enjoy going to.
Mhm.
I will say this: it seems like every time you see a cowgirl, they're hot. So not the worst thing in the world.
I'll tell you, man, we always win on Thursday nights because Thursday nights were lady nights. On a ladies' night, they had a butt shaking competition that was not to be missed. So if they won, they got like $50. But you let them win, and then you go talk to the runner-up, who was kind of down about it. You two-step her into a smile, and that was how you did
Man, see now I'm trying to think. I could put headphones in and I have to listen to the music. Anyway, all right. So you're doing this with this group of people.
it. Yep.
Now, is this like a career move for you? Not obviously the two stepping thing, but I
uh,
mean it might be. I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of reality TV shows out there that.
it's true. It's true. Uh, I think I thought it was going to be at that time. I think I thought that I was looked at McDonald's like this is not a permanent thing, but I'd gone through. I obviously started at the bottom with McDonald's, but I became a trainer and a crew chief, and then a shift manager, and then a department head, And I had done all of that. And so I was just like, okay, well, it's time for me to take my next step. And I don't want the next step to be, store manager. And that's the next level.
Yeah.
So I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And I was growing to really hate McDonald's. Like I was, for me, you stay at any place long enough, you start to hate it. I got no problem with it now. It's fine.
I'm loving it.
No triggers. Like you said, like you look back and you're like, man, those are some good times, even though you know how much you hated it in the moment.
Ponderosa
That
was
is
my first job.
100%. Oh yeah.
And I looked at like those stressful nights when I was a dishwasher and then a cook. And now I
Yep.
look back at and I'm like, we had so much fun,
Yeah.
but you didn't
Oh
realize
man.
it at the time.
No, because you're a kid. You're focused on the negative. You don't understand how to separate it.
If you could go back and not and just tap yourself on the shoulder and go, enjoy this, it means nothing to you in the plethora of your life.
Yeah.
You'd be like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when
If
you
I
go,
if I went back and be like, hey, that Bruce Springsteen song you like? These are the glory days, dude. Watch. Just pay attention a
yeah,
little bit. Enjoy
yeah.
it.
If someone
You
told
know.
you, you see this drive-through line in a year, you're not even gonna remember it. So don't stress out about it. Just
Doesn't
get the
matter at
people their
all.
food when you can get it done. Like
Yep. Yep. But that was how it is. I hated it so much. I needed something else, and then I
I
went
I
into the phone service, and that was
I
awful.
was I was a cook at Ponderosa. I was the head cook at like 17. Gosh. So I mean, they're throwing steaks on it, and you got prime rib or whatever. And I would have dreams about it. And I wake up in my bedroom. I slept in the basement. I turn the light on. I look around. Oh my god! And then I turn it off, lay back down, and I'd go right back into the dream. You can never have a good dream that you wake up for and like, I need to get back to sleep. I was just about to nail her.
No, it's
It doesn't
gone.
happen. But man,
Gone.
you have a dream of tickets and food being thrown on the grill, and you wake up and you're like, all right, it's just a
Resume.
dream. Yes. And it's like, why can't not? No, like this isn't fair. All right.
It's not.
So you thought this was going to be something you were going to do. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah, it
And
wasn't.
and you're
It
not
wasn't a goal.
collecting. You're just you're two stepping after your hours, and then you're working with colonels and
Yeah, taking phone calls from military members and their family. Like it was very boring. You had to learn about like APRs and calculating interest rates and knowing terms and all. Like it was a lot of training for that job, and it paid a lot better than McDonald's did. So I was like, yeah, I'm going there. That's what I'm going to do. And and it did not last very long. Um, and I I left in not a super professional way. Like it was probably one of the few jobs like I just stopped going.
we've
Like
all had them.
I totally did a Peter Gibbons from Office Space. Just like, yeah, I don't want to do it, so I don't think I'm just not going to go anymore. And that was pretty much what happened. Um, but I had no plan, so it was a really stupid move. But so now I'm looking for another. What I'm gonna do now.
Are you still living with your parents, or are you on your own at this point?
No, at this point I'm on my own.
Okay.
I think I moved out when I was 21. I
And
think.
no like steady girlfriend or anything at the time?
No, nope, not at that time. Um, yeah, let me see. 21, I think. I think because that was the first time my parents separated, and so dad got his own place, I got my own place, and then mom got her own place. So yeah, at that time I was on my own with a roommate who I was hating more than my job at the time. And so then I quit there, and I'm kind of half-ass staying with this girl that I used to work with, and looking for a job. And she was older than I was. She had some kids, but at that time I was into that, I guess, because there were several girls like that. But yeah, I went for moms. I guess that was my thing in my early 20s. Anyway.
We all listen, we all look back and go, I guess I do have a type.
Yeah, that's really like right now I'm like, oh my god. Like I pursued 3 women like that was idiot. So yeah, so I'm looking for a gig. I find this gig that was basically a vacuum salesman, like a old school door to door
Kirby.
vacuum salesman. It was Kirby. Yep.
I bought a Kirby
Did you?
because the girlfriend that I was living with at the time, the guy came by and she knew I would pretty much buy anything,
Mm,
and I bought it, and that was a hell of a vacuum.
I'm sure it was. I'm
I don't
sure.
know
I'm
if it
sure
was
it had
worth
a hefty price tag.
$1,700.
Yeah, there it is.
I know it wasn't when I sold it on eBay when I lost my job. Um, and it was heavy. They taught you how you could clean out a the toilet if it clogs.
Mm,
Yeah. I bought one.
that's impressive. I did that for maybe a week. I did that job because
You didn't come to my house.
we
If
never
you would've
did
come to my
any.
house,
I never tried to sell any or anything. This was all like in like training
oh,
essentially.
okay.
Yeah, so I never actually went out to any gigs because we had one coming up, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do. I this isn't. No, this is ridiculous. And I was still putting out resumes. So I found a shop, a car shop in Ozark, which was about 25 minutes away from Republic, and they did restorations on old cars, and that was definitely my bag at the time. And so they were looking for some seasonal help for the summer. And I was like, okay, if I do that, maybe I can get on. If I really put in the work and do the job, I can get on. So they send me an offer. I went in there to the guy that ran the thing and I was like, look, this is what I want to do. This is my dream right here. I got to go. And he was like, well, if you're sure. And I'm like, yep, I'm positive it's not vacuums. It might be this. So I got to go. So I started work with this place that was called the Cuda Factory. So it was like a nickname they got because they had like at the time I think 6 Plymouth Barracudas in the shop that they were all working on restoring in some degree. And so I worked with them for a weekend or for a couple of months. 1 month was the contract. They extended it another month, and in that time, um, everybody was on break, and I was kind of at this big table they had on the outs in the shop. The doors open, and I was drawing, and they're like, dude, that's really good. You think you could draw this? And I'm like, sure, So I'm drawing cars and stuff, and Steve, the guy, the owner, came out, and they were like, dude, you got to see this. This is awesome. He like looks at it. He's like, you think you could draw that car right there? And we pointed at one of the client's cars, and I was like, for sure. And he's like, well, do that. I'll pay for it. All right. So I started doing that. So I did one, and he's like, well, what about this one? And we pointed at another one. So I did that one, and he was like, I think we could set you up with a little desk in here, and you could do this sometimes when you're here. If you get everything done, it was basically like the gopher, like I was the shop
Yeah.
bitch. It was like you went and got lunch if people wanted lunch. You went to Sam's Club to buy paper towels. You know, I had my responsibilities were like sweeping and that kind of stuff. But I was like, if this is how I get my foot in the door, so be it. And so then they offered me this.
I want to say this: the fact that you saw something that you liked, and you're like, if sweeping and going to McDonald's, where I probably know the manager, no, like I have a lot of respect for that because there's people that look at that like this is beneath me.
Sure.
And I've told people like I've run into people that they're working at the drugstore and they're like, oh, this is my second job. I'm like, I'm not judging you. You're working.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect that you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. And if them having run to get Jimmy John's, I don't even know if Jimmy John's was around then, if that's what it takes to get my foot in the door, that's awesome. But then they
Yeah.
find something else that you're doing, like another talent that you have, because you were just
Yeah.
basically doodling at lunch.
Yeah, that was essentially it. Everybody was eating at lunch, and they had a legitimate break room that was inside, but if you sat in the shop at this big island that they made, you could smoke. So we're all smoking cigarettes and eating lunch, and I'm drawing, and yeah, so they show Steve, and yeah, he's like, why don't you set up a desk, you know, in the, it was like the break room kind of had this extended part where there really wasn't anything, where you would put like a table probably.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you set up a desk in there, and you can draw these cars while you're here. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But like this really could be like it. Like this is exactly what I want to do. Like I'm around cars, I'm drawing. This is amazing. And so the second month comes around, they renew the contract for another month, and they bring in another guy. And we both did the job for a month, but then I started realizing that this wasn't an entry level position. This was because they needed something done, and they needed somebody cheap to do it. Because what would happen was he would send us to his house to clean his house. He put in a pool, so he brought me and this other guy out there to shovel sand to level the yard. And this guy's house was gross. I mean, he had a toddler, and I think he had like a 5 or 6 year old. I think they were both daughters. We went to this guy's house, and there was like chicken nuggets on the floor, like ketchup stains that had been there for like months, like dried up on the tile. It was gross. He was a disgusting person. But he did this thing where he restored these Mopars, these old, Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth, but he also had a used car business. So he would go to auction and get these $1,000 cars and flip them. So, we were detailing engine bays and that kind of stuff, cleaning cars and keeping them presentable for the lot and that kind of stuff. He had this affinity for old Toyota trucks. So he imported right-hand drive Toyota trucks. So we'd be cleaning those so he could put those on auction or whatever. And they had a Barracuda. It was a 71. And it was like they used it like their shop car, like the shop truck. Like they would go do parts runs in this car. And it was a 4.4, it was a big block, but it was a 4 speed. And they were like, we need you, if you need to drive that car, like to back it out or take it somewhere, you need to drive standard. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. And he's like, all right, we'll take that Pathfinder and learn how to drive. And so I was like, okay. So they had this beater. This truck was probably $300. It was a total piece of crap, totally clapped out. The clutch was destroyed. I had no idea at the time. I was like, I can't get it. Well, no, you can't get it because the clutch is worn out. Like it doesn't exist. So I'm out there learning how to drive it and taking it through fields. And I had gotten pretty good, and I was telling the guys, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but it shifts weird. And they're like, well, yeah, it's a piece of shit. That's why you're driving it. Oh, okay. And they're like, yeah, take this. They had I think it was a 64 Harvester International Scout. And like, well, take the Scout out. It's better. All right, so take the Scout out. You know, manual steering wheel's huge. 3 speed, no floorboard, none. And I'm out there driving this thing around, and out in the field, and taking it all over. And I was coming to the end of the summer, and Steve told us yeah, he's like, we're not gonna renew your contracts. And it was like, I thought I was doing a really good job. And he's like, you did a good job. Well, we don't need you anymore. I'm like, okay, all right. So so
So
then
what were you drawing the cars for? Like, was it for anything?
it was for their clients, the clients that owned the cars. He was basically having me draw their cars to give them something.
So it's like, hey, this is what you also get when you come here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And when he let me go, he was like, I'd like you to still do drawings for me. Like, I'd like to send you like, hey, draw this car, and I'll pay your rate. And I was like, yeah, okay. Um and then that just kind of fell apart there. I did one. It was a 68 Firebird I drew for him. That was the last one.
Not even a Mopar.
Not even a Mopar. I couldn't believe he was doing it. I was like, "Are you serious?" I was
That's
like, okay.
you said all this stuff and then said a 68 Firebird. I'm like,
Pontiac. Yeah, I
I'm
was like,
pretty
"What?
sure that's not
Really?"
Mopar.
Yeah, I was surprised because that was well. I say that, and they had an Eleanor in the shop.
Okay.
Like somebody had a 68 fastback, and it had the kid and everything on it that they'd bought at an auction because somebody had put so much money into it and were basically like bankrupt. So they bought it and then realized why they went bankrupt because this, as nice as the pieces were, however it was put together was totally wrong. All the wiring was messed up, the bodywork was shoddy. So that was the one non Mopar in the shop. But yeah, when he came to me with the Firebird, I was like, "Really? You guys are doing Pontiacs too, huh?" He's like, "Yeah, well, I know the guy," and I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, well, I'm good, I'm down. You don't have to explain it to me. It's just unusual."
Yeah. You're not questioning. You're just like, I was wondering why.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and after that happened, that was my first time being unemployed for like I don't know 2 months, something like that. And at that time, I would just I consider those the dark times. Like that
And
was I was
what
unemployed.
around what year is this?
This was 2013,
Okay.
maybe 13 or 14, I think.
Okay.
Um, so at that time, um, when I lost that gig, about that time, my roommate had kicked me out because he found out I didn't have a job, and he's like, "Yeah, you got to go," and I was like, Okay." So I left, moved in with another buddy who's
It wasn't that you didn't have a job. It was that you didn't have money for rent.
was that I didn't have money for rent,
You
100%.
didn't care if you didn't have a job if you still had money for rent.
No, 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 for sure. And I think our rent at that time was like $500, maybe $500, 400 probably. So I move in with another buddy whose brother owned this house that needed a lot of work. And it was basically like, "You guys can live here, help me fix it up, rent will be super cheap, and you guys can live here." Well, it was in what is known in Springfield to be like probably one of the worst parts of town. It was slummy. So we get into this place, and the previous tenants had just trashed it and left a bunch of shit and garbage, and the rooms were full of trash, and there were cockroaches and mice, and it was disgusting. It was legitimately this is why I call it the dark days, because this was me at my worst. Like this was I had no plans, I had no job, I lived in the shittiest place I ever lived. Um, so that's what was going on at this time. So we fixed up the place a little bit. We hauled garbage bags after garbage bags out of the house. We cleaned, but it was always infested. Like it was gross. And somehow girls stayed the night. I don't know what was going on there, but guests stayed. And like I think if I was a girl, I'd have been like, "I'm not sleeping here. This is disgusting." Even though my room was very nice. I cleaned up very nice.
It
But the
still hasn't
house was
changed
still
everything
like in
else
this.
that's around.
Yeah, it was like dilapidated, man. It looked like the house Edward Scissorhands is in the attic, like
But I always loved
gross.
Coming to America, where they have like this super nice apartment, and everything else is a total shithole around it.
Little shithole. Yeah, it was, and we all we had was this little like a mini fridge. That was our refrigerator. Was a
Oh,
mini fridge in the kitchen. Like it was Oh my God. So so I do that for, I want to say it was close to 2 months. And uh after his buddy knew a guy who owned a restaurant, and he was looking for like an assistant manager, and I was like, "Pff, I've done that, no problem." So I go talk to this guy. It was a tropical smoothie cafe was the restaurant. It was the only one in
Are
Missouri
those
at the time.
restaurants?
Huh? Yeah, yeah.
Are
They
those
got food.
those are really considered restaurants?
Yeah,
Tropical
they got
smoothie?
food.
Okay.
They got food. They had pretty good
I've
food at
never
the
been
time.
to one. I
I
feel
I
they
my experience aside, I like them, but I like smoothie stuff. So, but so I get on with this guy, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I need somebody that can take over a little bit, so I don't have to do everything. And I was like, yeah, no problem, dude. I've done it. Like I can assistant manage. It's not a problem at all. And so he's like, okay. So we start, and there weren't a lot of hours. It was mostly, I think there was 6 or 7 people that worked there outside of him, and all but me and one other dude. All They were all like girls in their early 20s who wore
okay.
yoga pants to work. So it was not the best place for focus. Uh, but you didn't mind coming to work as much. So that was what I did, man. I did the smoothie shop thing, and I like I said, like it was pitched to me as an assistant manager gig, and that really wasn't happening. Like it was like I'm not doing any managing. There was this guy who, you know, we know people in our sandbox that have egos like this, but at the time this was the most egotistical dude I'd ever met. Like everything he did was the best thing it could possibly be. Everybody else was subpar quality. Nobody could run this like he could. And he had his uh, pregnant girlfriend who was an immigrant that came in to be on the swim team for Drury University. He knocked her up. So she also worked there off the books, though. And this guy also had another job where he was like a consultant for stuff because he knew so much. So this guy always told us, he was like, look, he's like, if you guys need your help getting your foot in the door in an industry, let me know. I have connections. I know a lot of people, and I can help you with that job. So one day I tell him, uh, well, hold on. Before I get to that, it got worse for me a little bit. So doing this job, had a girlfriend, and it was an odd thing. He was my buddy's cousin, and that was always weird. But we started dating, and she also had a child. Imagine that. Um, so we were dating at the time, and about the time I started this job. But I'm on two months being unemployed, so I was way behind on my car payments. So they repossessed my car while I was at work. Again, my fault. 100% own that. That's all me. I screwed that situation up. So they take my car, and then the same day she breaks up with me because they came to her work looking for me because, on Facebook it said we were in a relationship, so obviously she would know where I was. So she breaks up with me because she doesn't want that kind of hassle, like people coming to work looking for me. So about the time I started this tropical smoothie cafe job, I I I kind of tried to fix my problems with bottles. So I got extra into drinking at the time. So coming off of unemployment, I got this job that I think, oh man, this is gonna be something. Then I lose my car and my girlfriend. So I'm a little low this point. Still live in the ghetto, but now I got to get rides to work again.
Think about how much money you're saving now. You no longer have a car payment. You no
True.
longer have to pay for gas. You don't have a
True.
girlfriend that you have to take.
Nope.
You did
Nope.
not look at the bright side of this.
I didn't. And I was saving even more in gas money because I lived on the north side, the northeast corner-ish of Springfield, and my girlfriend lived in Republic. So I was driving, 25 minutes to see her basically every night because I didn't want anybody coming to my house because I was embarrassed by it. So yeah, I saved a good amount, which was good because Tropical Smoothie paid like shit. It's not a good paying job. So not only did it not pay well, the whole assistant manager thing was false. So I go and I Dad and I pick up this beater Dodge Ram, 2001 Dodge Ram. The guy had just beat the holy crap out of it. So we're like trying to get it, situated or whatever. I had told the guy that owned the restaurant that I really wanted to get into metal fabrication, like working with cars, but building things, hoods and doing metal work and stuff. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know anybody like that." And then he just started taking me off the schedule because I showed interest in something else.
I know everyone. If you need something, you want to get it, come see me. I don't know anyone like that.
Come see me. Yeah, I don't have anybody that does that. Okay. All right. So, like I said, so I had just bought this truck for $500. Bought this truck. It immediately needed a new transmission. The interior was so gross. It was clapped out. I mean, it was a jalopy. That's what it was. So I had just bought it, and I called the restaurant. It was on a Sunday, so usually only me and this other guy worked Sundays, but I didn't work that Sunday. So I called him and I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Can you tell me like when my next day is so I can come in and I'll get the rest of my schedule in?" And he's like, "It doesn't show you have any days." And I was like, "Pardon?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're on the schedule, but there's no hours." And I was like, "That motherfucker." So I was like, "Okay." So Dad and I at that time he had a shop with a girl that he worked with that wanted her grandfather's Chrysler Newport restored. So they were sharing the shop space. So we took the truck to the shop and started sourcing parts. And I called the next week. There was no hours on the schedule. I was like, "Okay, he's doing this. I'm done. You're just going to take me off the schedule and I'll quit on my own terms because I stopped showing up, not that you stopped putting me on the schedules." "Oh, all right, I'm not playing this game." So then I spent the next month or so fixing the truck and getting it to where I could drive it. Did all that. Then I worked like a month doing like warehouse, like temp jobs was basically what I was doing. And I did that for like a month or two, and I was like, this is terrible. Like I never know day to day if I'm gonna go to work, like, or they're gonna be like, "Oh, we don't need anybody," So I finally got a vehicle back, becoming a little more independent. I move in. So one of my buddies lived with his sister. It was a small house, it was like a 2-bedroom house. It was in like right out of downtown Springfield. Had a small house and a garage that had been turned into basically a studio apartment.
Okay.
And so him and his dog stayed in the studio and she stayed in the house and they split rent. He was getting deployed. He was going to Afghanistan. And I had spent the last few years, like I spent with him and his girlfriend and another buddy and his girlfriend lived with Logan's girlfriend, got deployed. So I was at their house all the time. And so he was getting deployed and he was like, "Look," he was like, um, I'd like I'd like to offer, ask if you're interested in moving into my place, obviously with his sister living there too. and you guys take care of my dog while I'm gone." And I was like, "Brother, yeah, it was it was funny because growing up, Logan always got tons of shit because his mom and his sister were both hot. So it was something that we gave him endless crap about. So now he's like, "Hey, move in with my sister." I'm like, "You sure you want that?" And he's like, Don't. I can't do this right now." He's like, "Don't do this. Will you help take care of my dog?" And I was like, I got it. Of course. Yeah. So I move into this place. Lindsay and I,
I can't believe his first thing wasn't they're giving me a gun to shoot people.
he already had that. He already had that. That was already a threat. It was fine. If he hadn't done
I
it by
probably would have
then,
said the exact same thing.
you
Does your
sure?
mom come by very often?
Yeah. Is Pam coming by? Because I'd like to talk to her too. But it was
I
always
was
one of those
watching
just
this
you
video
gave
last
your
night.
buddy crap about it because of how he reacted to it. Like you would never do anything with his family. Like you knew how
Yeah.
he was, but because the rise you got out of him, you just endlessly get just poked at him. But so I was living there, my truck, and then I moved into. Sorry, I got a different job. I found a regular job that was working at like a wholesale that did like plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. And so I was a delivery driver was basically my gig, and and that was where I started actually kind of correcting my life. Started pulling
Now,
myself out of the
when you
trench.
moved in here, were you paying any rent, or was it like you can stay here as long as you're taking care of my dogs? You don't have to
Oh no,
pay
we
for it.
split. Yeah, we
Okay.
split everything. Yeah. We basically just took care of his dog. It was a big big white husky.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So and he had let's see. Yeah. 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 So we were splitting everything. And and that was when I started working for Locke. And so not long after that, like we went through the winter and in the spring, she was getting a new place. Logan had come back. Um, and so we didn't have to, we didn't have to worry about the place anymore. Like, so she was getting her place, I was getting my place. Logan had moved in with his fiance when he came back from Afghanistan, and so we had kind of all gone our separate ways. Right, it was all pretty amicable, um, and I started working at this other place. So I moved in with a couple of buddies that were going to move into another place once what was it his dad was living there or something, and they're waiting on them to close on a house so they'd move out and we would move into their house. It was like it was like this chain reaction we were waiting on for everything to line up. So I lived on their couch for like 2 weeks while we waited. Um, so we moved in there, and then like I said, everything kind of normalized. Um, and it was about that time um, I was starting to realize that Springfield probably wasn't where I wanted to be anymore. Like it seemed like I was seeing patterns that I was doing. Like I was making the same mistakes and I was falling in with the same people. And while I love my friends and my family, maybe it wasn't the best thing that I stay there. Um, so I'm considering that, and my parents had gotten back together for the second time at that point. They had gotten back together and
You
they
said
were looking at this. What?
I didn't ask anything about it, but you said, "Well, this was the first time my parents separated." I went,
Yeah,
first time. That means
yeah,
at least the second time.
yeah, they split up. They got back together. They split up again, and then they had gotten back together, but they were looking for a bigger place, and they found this large house, very large house it was like a farmhouse. It was out in the middle of nothing, and it was perfect for them, but it was a little big for them. So I remember my dad called me and he's like, "Hey, I sent you an email. I want you to look at this place, and would you consider like subletting the basement? Like it had a kitchenette, it had the washer dryer, it was a full deal." He's like, "You just take the basement."
It's basically
So
like
I
your own
looked,
apartment.
yeah, and so I looked at it and I'm like, "That looks great. Like that's a ton of space. Um, that that sounds awesome." So at this time, I had started collecting again, but it was movies. I was collecting movies.
Okay. And that is collecting. And I talk to people
Oh yeah,
like they don't realize like maybe you weren't collecting toys. I mean, I tell people when I was younger, I would take everyone's old skateboard and hang on the wall. I was
sure.
totally collecting skateboards and didn't
Yep,
realize that's what I was doing.
yep, yeah, anything like that. So yeah, I was, and it started when I was a delivery driver because I would go to places and I could go into the pawn shops and look at movies and I could accumulate movies for cheap. And I was like, this is perfect. Like this will be my thing. So
Did you ever
I had
buy movies that you had no intention of ever really watching, but it was
sure,
cheap and you just couldn't?
sure. But
You
I
get
mean, there were movies that I had some kind of connection to. Like it wasn't like, I don't know, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Like I didn't own that, like it would be
actually
like,
that's not a bad movie.
"Oh no, I've seen it. It's fine."
I know.
It wasn't like, "Oh yeah, I don't have that movie, so I got to own it." It was movies that I had a connection, some kind of interest in.
I get it.
Yeah. So I was back into collecting, but that's what I was collecting. Um so I move in with my parents in this farmhouse and we stayed there for uh about a year. Yeah. Maybe a little longer than a year. And I was still taking care of my buddy's dog. I had taken this my buddy's dog back at this point because he was struggling really, really bad with alcoholism.
Oh,
His fiance had left him. The house that they purchased together, she got it because her family was attached to it or something. So they just completely like screwed my buddy. And he was in the bottom of a bottle. He was couch surfing, and his everybody wasn't okay with this giant husky that shedded everything all the time. I
a
had this
husky?
farmhouse, just moved into a farmhouse, and he was like, "Could you take Rev, for a couple of weeks while I get this sorted out?" So I talked to the landlord. The landlord's like, "Yep, that's fine for a couple of weeks. He can stay out in the barn." And so I was like, "Perfect." So get him situated in the barn, and a couple of weeks turned into a couple of months. And I was like, "Bro, I can't take care of your dog. Like I can't afford to pay the landlord's fee for having a dog here. Like
I
I
thought your
just can't."
parents bought. I thought your parents bought this
No,
house.
they were renting this place.
Okay, so they're renting it, and your dad was just like, "Hey, would you like to move in? Stay
Yeah, we
downstairs."
we like this house, but it is too much for us.
Okay,
But it could potentially put all of us together again and do that. Um, so that was what we did. At the That winter, um, I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. So that winter, my parents split up for the second time. I had said earlier they'd gotten back together and split up again, but they had just split up once, got back together. This At the farmhouse, this was when they split up for the second time, and that was the worst Thanksgiving we ever had for sure. That was awful because it was that time. It was November, and they split up, and I remember eating Thanksgiving dinner at their house, which was something we never did, but at their house with both of them there, and it was like, this is so awful. This is so bad. So so that happens,
I'm
and
assuming that was how my kids felt on the first Christmas after their mom and I split up and we're at the same house together.
that's just the most uncomfortable meal. Oh my gosh. So rough. So Dad and I stay there um, until the lease comes up in like May or April, I think, something like May, maybe it was
Do
May
you
or
know
June.
what year this is?
This is this is winter of 15, spring of 16.
Okay, so this is like the 10-year anniversary when this is about the 10-year anniversary of this. As this is
Yeah.
airing.
Yep. Yep. Sure is. So that happens. Like I said, Dad and I stay and finish out the lease. We moved Mom into an apartment, um, and this is when I finally decide that yeah, I can't stay in Springfield anymore. I have to leave. Like I don't have anything holding me here. I was single. I don't have kids. There's nothing saying that I can't leave. You know, I'm thinking for myself. It's my one shot, maybe my only shot in my life where I get to do something this spontaneous. Um, I say spontaneous. I'd been thinking about it for a long time, but so I finally decide like, yep, this is it. I'm gonna do it. So I start looking in Kansas City area for a gig, and um, one of my buddies had already moved to Kansas City, and he worked for Ford. He worked at the assembly here in Kansas City, building trucks. And he was an engineer. They had picked him out like right out of college. They were like,
Okay.
yeah, we'll bring you on as an engineer. So he was already established, um, and so I would line up interviews and borrow my dad's car, drive to Kansas City, stay like a weekend, a couple of days, do the interviews, stay with my buddy, and then come back and go to work and do the usual stuff. So I went to one place that did like bed liners in pickup trucks, like
Yeah.
Line X. I went to one of those places, and the guy was like, he's like, I can definitely use you. I've got a couple of positions, and you'd fit into any one of them. And I was like, perfect, okay. Um, he's like, you're moving, so when could you start? And I was like, um, I'm gonna, I think like May. And he was like, okay. He's like, that's perfect. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. So I get all my stuff in a row. Um, I move up to Kansas City, staying with my buddy. He had just got a house with his girlfriend at the time, and getting situated. So I call the place, and I'm like, hey, I'm up here. When can I come in? And they're like, oh, we filled those positions. So now I'm like, this was the worst decision I've ever made.
You
Like
have some awful luck. I'm just
I just dropped everything I had and moved 3 hours away for this job. And so now I'm staying at my buddy's place. Again, I don't have a job, and I'm dropping resumes and sending, applications out to jobs that were up near him. And they were close with their neighbors. Their neighbors were not elderly, they were probably in their 60s.
okay.
And and so I'm outside doing something for them. I think I was mowing their yard. So I was like, I feel like I need to contribute. So I would like mow the yard and do that kind of stuff around the house for them. Um, and I'm talking to their neighbor, and he was a very eccentric guy. Like he would have these wild ideas, and he'd run with them. So he's telling me he needs some help this summer. And like I said, this was a Memorial Day weekend. I moved to Kansas City. So this was like June time, 2016, when I'm talking to their neighbor. And he's like, I got across the street in that field, I've got 3 shipping containers that I need cleaned out because I'm gonna sell that land. And I was like, no problem. That sounds fine. And so I help him that summer. One of them he had converted into like a cabin, like you would stay there. And he said he used to keep it at the lake. And he had put like stained glass in this shipping container and framed it all in like stained oak. It was the craziest thing. somebody to put that kind of time into a Connex container. So he had them shaped like a horseshoe. So he had 2 on the side, 1 connecting in the back, and then he built a porch of pallets in the middle. So we spent the summer breaking everything down and throwing stuff away. And I was still, trying to get work, legitimate work. And not that I didn't appreciate just going to the bank at the end of the day and him giving me a stack of cash. That was fantastic. But I needed something real. And so I found a place. It was a shotgun importer in Kansas City, and they needed customer service. And I was like, well, that's been most of my life, so that's fine. And so they were like, July 4th was coming up. They're like, look, we've got that long weekend. How about you start the Monday after? And I was like, yep, that sounds fantastic. So I finished up with the neighbor guy, getting his property settled up, and then I started working at this other place like 2 weekends later, like 2 weeks later, and I was there for 5 years, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
about that. So, yeah.
So this is St. Louis, you said, right?
Springfield, or no, this is Kansas City now.
Kansas City. So
Mhm.
again, you didn't say it till after that, because I was like, well, you were lining up interviews, but I didn't realize there's 3 hours away till you said, like, I'm driving like 3 hours. I mean, again, that's not a half-hour drive. I mean, obviously, but I mean, I know there are people that will drive 2 to 3 hours to get to their job and come back. I don't know why you would.
Well, this was the move. The move was 3
Yeah,
hours.
but I'm saying, like,
So Springfield to Kansas City.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, before that, like, you didn't really mention how far it was, and I didn't realize
Oh,
that you were
when I was
far away. Yeah. So I mean, that's a huge. I mean, that's huge. That's not just going home on the weekends. Just going home on the weekends, from college because you're missing your parents or missing,
Right.
your actual bed.
Right.
That's a huge move.
It was a massive move, and it was so not easy. As we know by now, like, I'm very close with my parents.
Yeah.
So leaving them was awful. Like, that was so hard, pulling away from them in the U-Haul and, seeing them in the rearview mirror, like that broke me. Like, that was rough. But
yeah, and I mean, it is crazy. I mean, 3 hours really isn't that far, but it's not something you want to do every single day.
No, God, no.
My daughter, she wants to go to she wants to go to Michigan, University of Michigan, right?
Sure.
It's maybe a 45-minute drive. I drive 40 minutes to work every day. Now it's not expressway driving, so it's like, I don't think she realized. She's like, it's not really that far, is it? I'm like, technically, I could drive there and back. I mean, I drive to Ann Arbor for work all the time.
Sure.
So like, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal.
No problem.
So yeah, if you go to Michigan, yeah, I mean, hell, I could pick you up every weekend. That's not the point. You're not supposed to. But yeah, your mom and I can drive out there and have dinner with you or whatever, or just if you need to go shopping or whatever, yeah, we can do all that stuff. But 3 hours, that's different.
It's a little different because that's 6 hours on the road. If you do it
you're like, okay. After that, you're like, you know what? We Venmo'd you some money.
Yeah.
You get the target on your own.
Right. But that was what it took to do the thing I wanted to do. Like, that was, it was just one of those things. Like, it's worth it to me. And then when I got up here, it was like, oh yeah, well, that's not really there anymore. Okay, all right. So back to this. Now I've got to figure everything out again, and plan everything as much as I can. But I lived with them for 4.5 months ish.
Okay.
So he asked me one day. He's like, dude, he's like, what's your plan? Like, what's your plan? It's fine. You stay here, but I need to know you're pursuing. And I was like, yep, I've got an appointment to talk to this apartment complex that's only like 5 minutes away from where I was working. And then I signed a lease with them October 1st. So it was just,
that was his way of saying you need to move out.
I need you to move on. Like,
yeah. If you tell me I need 2 months, I'm going to give you 2 months. But if you're
That
like,
was
I
it.
don't have any plan, he's going to say, yeah, you need to move out soon.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he was aware of everything. I mean, he was my best friend. I mean,
Yeah.
he knew my situation. And when he said that, I realized that I was definitely taking advantage of that situation. I wasn't aware of it, but that's what I was doing. It was
Yeah.
comfortable, right? Like it was comfortable and it was cheap. Like, yeah, like I split utilities with you guys. Like, oh my, what else am I gonna do? And at this time, I had a full-time job. I was doing well at work. It was a new gig, but I was doing well with it. I was passionate
Yeah.
about it. And he was like, "Yeah, I need you to take take your own path here. Like, I bought this house with her so we could start our lives. I need you to figure yours out." So, and I did. I got this apartment, and it was a one-bedroom apartment, and it was the second shittiest place I've ever lived. But because
Heard
nothing could
about the
top the
first.
first. Yeah, nothing could top the
Yes.
first. This one, you know what? It really wasn't all that bad. Um, it was just it's that shitty typical first apartment. That's like how it was. And this was the first place I lived by myself. This was my first solo apartment. Um, and I lived there for uh 5 years. Yeah, I lived there for 5 years.
So it couldn't have been that bad if you lived there 5 years.
It really wasn't. It was small, but it was mainly it was mainly outside of the building that was shitty. Like there was a
Okay.
lot of it that was very ghetto adjacent. The buildings were pretty shitty. I'm not gonna lie, the buildings were pretty crappy. They were not well maintained. Um, or during the summer, the AC went out, and it took them like 2 weeks to get that replaced. I thought I was gonna have a heat stroke, but it is what it is. It wasn't. It had progressively gotten worse over those 5 years, and tenants that were really good that I moved in with had long left, and then the dredge started showing up, the drug dealers, that stuff started creeping in. Um, when you go out into the parking lot and there's a Porsche backed into a handicap stall with a Wendy's cup sitting on the dash, whoever owns that isn't on the up and up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a clear indication you you should not be here. Like I hate to profile, but if I'm a cop, I'm pulling that guy over for sure. I don't, and I don't care if if it looks like the Monopoly guy. That dude's getting fucking pulled over. You're drinking a 44-ounce Wendy's Coke in a freaking brand new Porsche, backed into a ghetto ass complex. No sir, no sir. You're getting cherries for sure. So
Okay. Are you collecting at this point? Are you
okay, at this point, while I was living there, I had gotten back into GI Joes.
okay?
So this was I got my dad wanted to go to the last GI Joe convention, 2018, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Is that Joe
He want
Con or
Joe, yeah, the legit Joe Con, the
okay?
Hasbro Joe convention. This was the last one. He wanted to go, and I it really didn't because I didn't care at all. I had no interest in it. Like stuff would come out and he would show me new stuff, or I'd go see him and he would have a new toy or something. So I always like knew about it through him, but I had no interest in it.
And what year
Like
is this?
this was 2018.
So what's even come out from GI Joe? Is that when the Walmart stuff was?
Um 18 was the last things that would come out would have been like 50th anniversary,
Okay,
which I think was
all right.
16 when
Because
those
that
came.
was that. I'm trying to think. When did Toys R Us go under?
They were like probably around that same time because I
Yeah.
was up here and I went to a couple of them looking for figures for him.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can remember like the Toys R Us, like the Jubilee Build a Figure wave was out.
All right.
Even though it meant nothing to me, I remember going, and because Dad would be like, "Hey, I'm looking for this," so I would go to toy stores and hunt for it.
Okay.
So, yeah, 2018. So he's like, "Yeah, we want to go to Tennessee. Mom's gonna go, and we're gonna make like a family trip out of it." And he
So
eventually convinced me to do it.
at this point, are your parents back together?
They are back together. Yeah, at this point, they had gotten back together. Oh man, when was that one? I think maybe a year or two after I moved. I think
Okay.
they got back together. I think that's about right. Um, yeah, I think that's about right. So, so at that time, um, he had never gotten out of it, but I couldn't have been further out of it.
Yeah.
But he's talking about doing this trip, and I'm like, that sounds like something I should do. And I wasn't on board with it at the beginning. I didn't want to do that, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no. In my later years, this is one of those things that I'm like, I'm glad we did that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't know. I just that's how I felt about it. So we did that. He had done this really badass 3D model of a 3 3/4 ship that was never produced. They designed it for the 1995 wave. They got canceled. They were going to be like what the heck were they called? Something Rangers, but it was GI Joes. Man, I can't remember. Um, so he had made this off of I don't know. There's like 4 pictures that exist of this thing. There's 2 versions of it, and he had made one, and that's what he wanted to bring to the Joe convention because the guy that created it was there,
All right.
and he wanted to talk to him about it. This is Dave Kunitz, the Hasbro designer, and so he wanted to go down and show him this and ask some questions about how was this so I can change it. And I remember we were on our way and we'd stopped in Paducah, Kentucky. Uh, we had stopped there because Dad was fairly familiar with that city, but they also had a Toys R Us. So we stopped at Toys R Us and then we got lunch. And as we were getting lunch, the guys who used to run the Joe Customs Forum were eating at the same place. And so he was like, I'm gonna go talk to him, which is so not my dad. Like to go just talk to somebody randomly in public. But he did. So he goes over, we're sitting at a Hardee's and he sees these guys. I'm gonna go talk to him. So he goes over and talks to him. And he comes back and he's like, all right, when we leave, we're gonna drive over there. I'm gonna show him the model. So yeah, so we drive over there and they're like, dude, could we display it at our booth? And he's like, oh my God, yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. So we get to Chattanooga, we get set up in our hotel, and when the show starts, he brings them this model, and it is displayed at their booth, and he does like a little interview with them, and he gets to go talk to Dave Kunitz, and I'm trying to remember who else was there, Kirk Bazigian, and there was somebody else there, um, Larry Hama, and one other designer, but I can't remember who. But so he gets to talk to him, and he's like, yeah, you did great. This is amazing. He's like, I don't know how you did this with as little photos are out there, but he has like the original, like he has one, and he was like, I'll send you pictures if you want pictures. So he was really worried about how the bottom was, and he's like, I'll send you pictures, no problem. So that was the first one, and I remember walking the floor and looking at GI Joe stuff and being like, that's really cool because I remember it from my childhood. But I had no connection, nothing. Didn't want anything. Didn't I don't think I bought anything at all. So the next year, this is now Joe Fest, the beginning of Joe Fest, and they're in this little hotel and they're basically just doing it at the same time so that they could try to get, the people that would go to Joe convention now come to Joe Fest. So he's like, yeah, we're going to do that. And by this time, he's doing some work with a couple of people. He was doing some work with Raging Spoon on the Complex, the 118 Complex stuff, and I think he did some stuff for Black Major at the time.
Okay.
And so he had gotten his foot in the door. He had succeeded in the whole purpose of going to that last Joe convention, and that was getting his foot in the door. So he'd gotten that. So by the time 2019 rolls around, and he's talking about going to Joe Fest now, he's doing more work, and he had basically at that time started what would become Call Sign Long Dark. So he's talking to Troy and he's talking to Darren at the time, and they had this idea for this Cold War era GI Joe adjacent project. So we go. He asked me again to go to the show, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Well, I can take the time. We can do that, and we go to Augusta, and like I said, it was a little hotel. There was a little a little table there that would become Valaverse. These prototypes were there, but it was a small show. Small show. It was like, I don't even know how big that main room was, but it was not very big. And there was like hallways and stuff like that. So the first night we're there,
this is not at the Marriott.
no,
Okay.
no, this was.
I know he's moved a couple times, right?
I think so. And this was the only one we went to that was not at the place it is now.
Okay.
So I don't know how many Ed did before 2019, but 19 was the first one we went to.
Okay.
And it was a cool show, but it was very small. But Marauders Gunrunners were there, and they had just come out with that Theodore figure that looked like John Wick. And I saw that, and I was like, "Now that's cool. Like I kind of want it." And so that first night we have dinner with Matthew LaCroix of LaCroix's Toys,
yeah,
and his family, and that was how I met Matt. That would later become a big part of my customizing stuff. But so they have this Theodore figure, and I decide I'm going to buy it. I'm going to get that because that's cool. That'll look cool on the shelf. I love the movie. And so then I'm walking around. And I'm like, I need like a bad guy or something though, so he can kind of beat up on somebody. So I get one of their geared up figures. They're all black geared up figures. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. And I'm in the hotel room and I'm putting them together, all the different configurations you can do with Marauders figures. And then I'm like, what would be cool is I've got John Wick and I've got this bad guy, is if I got like a G.I. Joe, like what I remember as a kid, because it kind of looked cool, on the same shelf, like John Wick, a bad guy, and then obviously it's going to be Snake Eyes, because it'd be all black. So then we spend like an hour at the show looking for the best version of Snake Eyes to go with this. And then I ended up buying like 10 more figures. And I filled like a tackle box, because that's always what Dad took to conventions, because you can put the figure in their gear, snap it closed, and don't have to worry about it getting mixed up. So I had filled a tackle box, like a 12 slot tackle box with figures. And he comes back to the hotel room, and I'm just on the bed, like playing with G.I. Joes. Like I'm, changing out holster setups, and doing all this stuff and ripping up packages. And he comes back in the hotel and he's like, so this is how it starts. He's like, I got your back. I was like, yeah, this is a problem. Like I wasn't planning on buying any of this crap, But like I was on the show floor so little because, again, my mom has absolutely no interest in any of this stuff. Like, it bores her to tears. So like, I'd go to the place, and walk around for a little while, or bring my dad lunch or something, and then I'd go back and I'd just be hanging out with my mom. Like we'd go to stores or go get food or whatever. Like it was more about entertaining my mom than it was about the Joe show.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to get into it. So we come back from that convention,
You tell
and
mom you stay home next year.
yeah, you don't have to do this. I got it. Uh, so we come back, and I'm staying at their house like a day or two after we get back, and I'm looking on Marketplace for GI Joe stuff,
Well,
and I find
it didn't take long at all, did
no,
it?
it was immediate. It was immediate. The grass was dry. That one spark, wildfire. So I'm on Marketplace looking for GI Joe stuff, and I find a guy in Springfield that's got this sweet little lot of like 50th anniversary stuff. And I was like, this was the day I was leaving. So they were already at work, you know. So I lock up the house and I go to this guy's house to look at toys. And I end up buying a pile of GI Joes from this guy, all the modern stuff. And I remember I had like my front seat was full of toys. And I remember sending a picture to my dad, and I'm like, "Yep, it's a problem," you know. And it's just like 10 like packages of figures, like the 2 packs and the 3 packs. And I went to this guy's house and I spent like $200 and got all this stuff. And that was the start of it. And so I drive back home, and I'm like setting them up on, I got these DVD shelves, right? So on top of the DVD shelves are all these GI Joes, and now I've got stuff from Complex, so I've got like a little base built, and I've got all these figures in it. And then I'm like, well, if I got this figure, I'm gonna need this figure. So now I'm looking at eBay and Mercari trying to get figures, and I realized that some of the figures I want are like con exclusives or mail away stuff, or subscription service. That's what it was. And I'm like, I'm not paying $100 for a freaking action figure. And so at this
How
time,
much
I'm
you pay-
like,
how much would you pay for an action figure now?
I've paid $100 for an action figure now for sure.
Have you
For
bought
sure.
a Mezco? So you've got
I don't have a Mezco,
You
but I have
don't?
a
Okay.
Zesray Studios. I got a Zesray Studios.
Okay. I think I paid 140 for the Snake Eyes Mezco.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any of those. That is the most expensive one I have, is that I don't even know where the hell he's at now, but
I
it's
did
the
pay
big the red rhino. I loved
I
it.
did pay, I think, 150 for the 3-0 Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
Those are
And if
cool.
I had more room, I would buy all the 3-0s because
They're sick.
they're really good.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're really cool.
But space is a huge issue.
It's
Anyway.
the final frontier.
It is.
So I'm seeing these figures, and they're like $100, and the one like primarily I'm thinking about is Roadblock, because I don't like most of the modern Roadblocks. The only one I do like is the Tiger Force one, and that was a subscription service figure, and he was like 80 to $100, and I was like, I'm not paying that. So I start looking at how to make one, and I'm like, oh well, I could just get a retaliation Roadblock, and then I could get Rage and Spoon, the guy that did the Complex, also did resin casts. So he had figures heads that were,
Oh, okay.
$4 or $5. And so he was at the show, so I had gotten some from him. And he's got a website. You can go to Rage and Spoon. And so I decide that if I get a Retaliation Roadblock, which is $10, and I can get a head and I can just paint it to look like the right Roadblock. So I do that. And then I'm like, well, I could build this figure too, though. So, now I've got a set of paints, and I'm doing this at my desk, set up in this apartment. Instead of a dining room, I had an office. That was essentially what it was. And so I start doing this. And the only thing at the time that I had been collecting outside of before the GI Joe thing started was movies, and I started collecting vinyl. I got into records.
Oh, yeah, and the vinyl thing.
So I was really into the record stuff. So now I'm into GI Joes, and I'm getting the collection's growing. Like it was like every other day I was buying something from Mercari or eBay, and it was never very much. They were pretty cheap at the time. There were still some that were expensive, like the Snake Eye Storm Shadow 2 pack. That one was like $50, and I found one for 30, and I was like, done. And so I had gone into it. I was starting to do painting, and I was posting on Facebook groups, and I had awesome traction when I first got into it. But I remember asking Matt LaCroix, you know, how to do like what he would do for these things. So Matt LaCroix helped me out tremendously starting out. Like that guy was an open book. He's always been super supportive. He's still a big cheerleader of mine. Like
So not a gatekeeper.
not a gatekeeper at all. And I
That's
think
awesome.
I think between him and my dad is why I approach things the way I do. Like I don't want to gatekeep. I want you to be into it. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to know how to do something, I'll tell you how to do it. You're gonna have to decide if it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
You know,
No, and
which
that's how
most
it should
people
be.
don't want. Most people don't want the the commitment side of it. Like I'm gonna tell you how to do it. It's gonna take 3 hours. Most people right there, like I don't want to do it. Not worth it.
I've had a lot of people say like, yeah, you should just start doing customizing. I'm like, I don't have time. No, I mean you could. I'm like, okay, I I've chosen to do reviews. I like doing YouTube. Like this takes up
Yeah.
a lot of my time, and this might be hard for you guys to believe. This is not my career,
Hmm.
And it's like I'm not saying that I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
but it would take a lot of work. And it's not something I'm passionate about,
Sure.
you know. Where like I could easily say like, why don't you review stuff? And you're like, I don't want to sit in front of a camera and review stuff. Like that's not what I want to do.
It's
You
not my
know?
bag.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
I,
okay.
I
That's great. That's what makes this different. Is
yeah,
all of us do a different part of it.
exactly. And I'm always and I tell everyone I go, if you have a question, you want to do YouTube or whatever, you have a question, you can message me. I will give you to my best of
Sure.
my knowledge to help you.
You bet. You
You
bet.
know?
I'm all for it. It does really doesn't matter what aspect or
Yeah.
what it is in life. Like if you want to ask me. Like, and if it's something I don't want to talk about, then I'll tell you that. But I really don't know of any topics that are like that people would ask you about. I've always been very open, but I think it's because of Matt LaCroix and my dad always being so supportive about getting people into a hobby and keeping people engaged. That's how I operated. So like I said, like I owe a lot of it to Matt, and it's never stopped. Like um, he's the reason I've gotten some of the gigs that I've gotten. Painting. Um, I owe some of that to Matt, and every time I see him, it's like seeing family. Like
Yeah.
you know it's amazing. I love it. Matt's a great dude. I love him dearly.
No, and that's awesome that you got that experience from someone who easily could have been like, I don't
Fuck
know,
off,
kid,
kid.
just go look at I don't know, just go look at what I'm doing. Your
Are
dad
you
your
gonna
dad
buy something? Get out
yeah,
of here.
yeah, your dad's obviously different. You would expect him to help you, but again, and the way you made it sound was this wasn't because he knows my dad. It was just because this is the person that he is.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, well, it shouldn't be like if someone hits me up and I'm like, oh, you're friends with Tony's Figs. Oh, well, then I'll help you. And
Right.
then if it's like, oh, I've seen you in my chat before. Yeah, I don't really have time. You can go see like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like that. But it
No,
is for many people.
it is for a lot of people, and I think that's part of the reason why you know people reach out to me. On Instagram, people reach out and they ask how I would do something, or how they should do something, or I want to get into this. What should I buy? Like my Instagram is it's a lot of that. Like I
Yeah.
have a lot of people in my life that now ask how to do things, and personally, I feel obligated to
And it
give them my best answer because
and I
that's
can't
what I was given.
I mean, I can't speak for you, but I know for me, the only time I start getting annoyed is when someone constantly asks for my help, but then they don't want
and then never take it.
yeah, or they fight you on it, and it's like I didn't reach out to you and go, hey, you know what I would do? Like, no, you reached out to me when
Yeah.
I gave you my answer. You said, well, so and so. Well, then clearly you just wanted me to say, hey, you're doing it perfect. So just go reach out to that person. Don't waste my time.
Right.
I have
Yeah.
other things to
If
do,
you
like
just
not
want
read
the
your text.
yeah, if you just want an attaboy, let me know that's what you're looking
Hey,
for.
there's more than enough. There's more than enough of these YouTube channels that they just like the hey, yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Oh, great job. Good job. Oh man, that's the greatest figure I've ever seen made.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Like, go deal with them.
Yeah, for sure. And there is, and that's again, I think that's why I feel obligated to not gatekeep any aspect of it, like
Yeah.
because I want to incentivize you to get into it, but I don't want to um enable you. Like
Yeah. And a lot of
I want you
people
to be a part of it, but if you're a part of it, you you need to be constantly improving.
and a lot of people fear they do the gatekeeping because they fear somebody surpassing them. And
True.
again, I learned a long time ago skateboarding, like I may see someone and say, I want to be as good as I want to be better than that guy. Not because I want to be better than him, because he's that good.
Yeah.
But under that, under my thinking, by the time I'm better than what he is now, I would expect him to be
He's gonna
even
be
better
better
than
too.
that,
Yep.
you know? And if I end up getting better than him, his thing should be like, hey, you worked really hard for it. Same way if I saw someone get better than me. Don't get me wrong, it would drive me nuts when you see someone and you're helping them, and then 6 months later you're like, holy shit, this guy's good. Right?
Good.
But I'm not
Good. Yeah.
mad at them. I'm just pissed off that I got some shitty talent.
How did I slip? I should have been ahead of him, you know? Yeah, for sure.
I will say
I
this,
get that.
watching people skateboard, like young guys that would like now in the past like 5 years or so, I'd see them trying to show me up, and I'm like, listen, if you need to compete with a 45-year-old or almost 50-year-old now, you are aiming way too low. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to be
Because
aiming
I'm
for
not the
peak.
one you want to be like, I'm better than him now. Oh, you mean the guy that's in the AARP line? Yeah. No, you don't want to be better than him. You should just be better than him.
Yeah, you should just start there, I guess.
um,
but yeah,
so that's basically how you got into the customizing now.
yeah, yeah. That was how I got into this was not being not being willing to pay more than I thought a value of the figure was. And knowing that I did this when I was a kid, so I should be able to pick it back up, and
And be better at it
that's
now.
that's what happened. I you know I had still been painting, I'd still been practicing, art stuff from you know all that time. I was still drawing, I was still painting, I was still coloring and doing all that stuff. But now it's a different medium. Now it's toys and acrylic paint
And
instead of
that's like
canvas.
that's what I've told Tony's Figs. I go, you want to create content, record what you're doing because anyone can drum a lot ahead, but not everyone's willing to do it until they see how it's done. And a lot of people don't want to put it on there, or painting eyes or painting face. But that stuff is evergreen. It's always going to be there because there's always going to be things to do. But someone may come across your channel that doesn't paint toys,
Right.
but they see what you're painting, like, hey, I'm painting this. It's very similar plastics. What types of paint do they use?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've watched other people on YouTube that don't do toys that you're able to like, oh, I can see how I can translate that into this.
Sure.
And that's what I tell all these people because that's a talent that a lot of people don't have. But turning on the camera is something any one of us can do. Now, spending time, editing it, that's the pain in the ass. But I'm like, it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like a review video. It's like you have a finite amount of time, right? The new G.I. Joes came out. I get like usually about 6 weeks that they'll get decent numbers. Then they just plummet because everyone's already got them. They've seen them.
Yep. They're not hot anymore.
Yeah. So you can take your time editing it to how you want it to be. And then it works out perfect because people 3 years from now are going to come back to it.
Yeah.
And I envy that. I gotta keep buying damn GI Joes just to review them.
I buy them just to take them apart. You know, I don't know if it's a lot better, but
it is crazy when I see that, like, instantly the look what I've already done to this, and I'm like, and I've said this about a lot of the Gridiron people, and I go, I really like a lot of what Gridiron does and a lot of these other ones, but I like some of you are so, I'm not saying you, some of these guys, when they do this, they're so determined to customize something. They're not even taking the time to look at the detail that maybe Hasbro has put into it. And I think a lot of people don't. And again, it's not just that; it's other brands too. Obviously,
Sure.
that's a whole nother topic I go on. So, no, go on. You're about to say something.
I think I do. Yeah, I got something on that one. So I think for a lot of us, and I will speak personally on this, a lot of us have this. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but a lot of us can look at something and immediately see something else. Like, you know, car guys, this is something Dad and I used to do. We'd be driving through, rural back roads, and you'd see a car in a field. And you're not seeing some piece of crap that's rusting away back to the earth. You're seeing the hot rod it could be.
Yeah.
You see the potential in it. So I notice I do that, and I'm sure a lot of other customizers do. But you're scrolling through, and you're seeing a new toy, and you're instantly inspired at what that could be in your mind. So you're seeing it like, yeah, that's cool, but it could be this. Like most of the time, I will get a toy, I'll open it right up, and I'll immediately do something to it because as soon as I saw it, I knew that's what I wanted. Like I see like a Blackwatch agent. Okay, Blackwatch agent. All right, it needed a Mel Gibson head because I love Payback. Right. So I already had the Mel Gibson head. I just didn't have the body. So immediately open up Blackwatch head. Like.
But that's just a head swap. That's just a quick head swap. Again, I don't. I have other like with this guy here. All right, I kept looking at Snow Job, and I'm like, that Snow Job head. This is the alternate one. It's too good just to go be thrown in a bin.
I agree.
So I got the Tiger Force Recondo. I stripped off the tiger stripes. Did a video on that. People have told me I should take it down because Windsor and Newton no longer exists in that formula. But I'm like, no, it still gets views. Bought the Gridiron assembly, which is like a jungle, because Snow Job can't always be in the snow, right?
He's got to be able to do something else.
So now it's
versatile.
It's the Jungle Snow Job, which everyone didn't realize.
Jungle Job.
Jungle Job.
You got to get Jungle Job.
So okay, so you go through all this, you become this, you start customizing. Mm-hmm. Where has it led you into actual work? Because I know you told me before we started recording, you started working with some real companies that are doing real work.
Yeah, for sure. So that happened. Let's see, the first gig would have been Call Sign Longbow. So when my dad John and Troy got to where they were set on Call Sign Longbow.
Now is your dad part of Call Sign Longbow?
Yes. Yeah,
can I ask when I'm going to get my damn figures?
He's one of two of the owners.
I'm sorry.
It looks like soon. It looks like very soon.
It's been so long. I don't know. I don't remember what 4 of those figures, what 4 of the Operation Recall figures I've ordered. But I know I have 4 of each of them coming. I have no idea which ones. They could send me from fucking Space Martians at this point. I'd be like, yeah, that's what I ordered.
Well, I finally got it. Yeah. So yeah, he is one of 2 owners of Call Sign Longbow.
Okay.
So it's him, John Kukovich, and Troy McKee. They're the guys. They had a third when they first started. And
back in 2005, I think.
Do what? 2005,
somewhere around there when I back
when you put the order in. So they decided they wanted to focus a little more on it being a Cold War thing, which is
yes.
something that Troy and Dad are very, very into. And Darren really wasn't. Darren liked a lot of other projects more. So basically, they decided that they would take this Cold War thing, do their own thing, and Darren would go and do whatever he wanted to do, which
Okay.
was Hidden Force, Legends of the Hidden Force.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah. And now they've got some other stuff, but that was where the split was, and it was amicable. They both realized that their visions just weren't aligning anymore, and they both had passions for projects that
So wait a minute.
the other ones weren't into.
You can have a disagreement with somebody and go your separate ways and not hate each other.
Sometimes
That's
sometimes
weird. That's
I've
strange.
seen it
Okay.
before. I thought it was a myth, but then I saw it. So, um, yeah. So they got it to where they needed. They had figures coming for Joe Fest, and they needed paint masters. So they tasked me with the very first one, which was the Spetsnaz trooper, the green guy with the tan camo and the hat. That was the
That
first
might be one
paint
of the ones I
master
ordered.
It's a cool figure. That was the first one. It will always mean something to me. That was the first paint master I got to do for a company. Um, and then the following year, I think they had, I think 5 or 6 other figures. So I did the
Yeah.
paint masters for those. Um, and then I done those paint masters, and then at that at that Joe Fest, we had our booth. We were there for the booth, and Chris Scott had done a bunch of paint masters for Fresh Monkey Fiction.
All right.
So at that show, they unveiled what would become Monster Force.
But
And
this is
Chris,
now is this before the 6-inch line and when they were only doing the 4-inch line?
this was their upcoming transition to doing
Okay.
112 as well as 118. They'd already done 118 for a few
Yep.
years. So he had done all those paint masters for the first versions of Monster Force. And they
Operation
look,
Monster Force.
yes,
I
Operation.
only say that because I got someone put in 2 copyright strikes against me, and they were false copyright strikes, and they didn't even say Operation Monster Force. They only said Monster Force, which even pissed me off
Huh.
even more because Bill's like, we have no idea who this guy is. It was just a false, but he didn't even use the real name. And the second one was literally like copy and paste.
Wow.
And you two ignored one. They said, okay, this one doesn't count. The second one, they refused to let it go. I'm like, dude, how?
It's the same. It's the same. Yeah. So yes, Operation Monster Force.
Thank you.
So Chris Scott had done all of these paint masters for the Operation Monster Force, and I can't remember how many they had. I want to say there was like 8. One was the original what would become Chatsworth. This
Yep.
giant Sasquatch. One of them was the Phantom Core, and I saw that paint, and I was like, "Holy Lord!" Like that's amazing. Chris Scott laid all of that out. That multicam, he did that. And there was the eraser was there, and the eraser has that almost kind of resembles Cryptek camo that's like hexagon shapes.
Yes.
He had done that, and I was like, these are incredible. And they were only maybe three spots away from where Longbow was at the time. And because on the other side of Longbow was Skeletron, and beside them was Marauders. So we had a nice little block there. So I was going down, I was talking to Chris, and I'm like, brother, these look amazing. It was the wrong scale for me. I was a 118 guy. So I was like, these look amazing, dude. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. And so I'd go down there, talk to him for half an hour, go back to the booth. Well, then he'd come over to my booth and talk to me about my paint masters for the Longbow stuff, call sign Longbow. And and so we just kept talking about like paint, and I was like, this Chris Scott is he's another one of those guys, man. He's not into the gatekeeping. He's super approachable. He's really fun to talk to. He's passionate about what he does. And, as most of us have seen, like guys that are passionate about what they're doing in this hobby, it's contagious. It's infectious. It's you talk to there's some people in the community that don't really seem like doing things out of passion. It feels more out of spite, and it feels that way. It feels like this. I'm not excited about this because I don't think you're excited about it. You just want to get one over somebody else. But you talk to the guys at Skeletron,
My lip
and
might start bleeding soon from biting it.
don't chew through it, dude. Uh,
I bit my
but then you
tongue
talk to
yesterday.
somebody like Ben Conway or Mark at Skeletron, and those guys are so in love with the project that they've put their name on. They're so passionate about it. You talk to my dad about call sign Longbow, or to Troy. You talk to Matt LaCroix, any of these guys. They're so passionate. They're so excited. And the worst part of it is they don't, for a long time, still with call sign Longbow, there's not product. Like they're so excited, but they can't share that excitement with you because they don't have the product.
Yeah.
So now they're kind of trapped in this. Like I feel bad because I'm excited about it. I owe you stuff, so I don't want to talk about what we want to do in the future because I need to deliver product.
And
You
that
know?
was a huge issue. And I know that was like a huge issue that I know I had with, and other people did too with Fresh Monkey Fiction. It was like,
Yeah,
you got to stop showing product.
yeah,
And
yeah. And we're
I,
always showing you the next
yeah,
thing. Always
and I
pre-order for the next thing.
at Joe Fest last year, not 2024, I was talking to Troy for
Hmm.
Call Sign Longbow, and he was explaining everything. And I said, I got to say, like, I backed this, and it is very disappointing it's been this long.
Yeah.
And I go, the one thing that I really like what Skeletron did was they knew it was taking so long, and they said, instead of you guys waiting for everything to be in, we're going to start shipping it in as we get it.
Yep.
And it said to everyone, hey, here it is. This is it's not all done, but here comes some stuff, and here comes more
Mhm,
stuff, and we're gonna
mhm.
ship it out on our dime,
Yep.
you know. Which that reminds me, I got a lot of that stuff coming.
Me too.
I was like, what do I
I
have
am
to
very
review
excited
next?
about it.
Yeah, I actually I ordered more stuff, and then I was like, I couldn't find it, and I messaged them, and could you? I can't find where I ordered. And he sends me a list. He goes, here's everything that you've ordered. And I went, oh, I totally forgot that I ordered more stuff.
Whoops. Whoopsie. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking like, where am I going to put that right now?
Well, yeah,
I
because I
got that
got
in my
like
head right now.
there's like 4 different backer kits I have for that because at different times I've been like, "Oh, shit, I forgot about this. Oh, I need to order one of those. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna need more of those Skeletrons because that's probably the coolest figure I've ever seen."
When I ordered the Robo Skull, I ordered that, the Jungle Trooper, and I think I ordered one figure. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to order the stand. And then when they're like, all right, this is the last chance to order the stand on the backer kit, I was like, why didn't I just order that? So then I ordered that, but I'm like, or if I order two more figures, then the PayPal credit will push it back 6 months with no interest. I totally forgot about that because then when another backer kit was ending, I ordered a whole bunch of stuff, and then it was when I messaged him and he's like, "This is a list of everything that we still owe you," and I
Yeah.
was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, now I remember." All right, well, it's like free toys now because they're already paid for it.
You already paid for them. Sweet. But
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
you talk to those guys and you see how passionate they are, and that gets you excited about the toy. That gets you excited about the
Yeah,
project. And it's kind of become like my favorite part about I mean, I've got kind of an inside seat there being, with call sign Longbow because, Ben Skeletron is, they're associated with Grindstone Toys, which is the parent company of call sign Longbow. So, because they did that for the first figure, the the Wolf pilot. You know, that's a
Yeah.
a Grindstone Toys buck. You know, the O-ring
Yep.
figure. So they're kind of connected, and so I get to see this passion from a closer seat than most people. Like, you know, rubbing elbows with them in the booth space, and it's so, like I said, it's affectious. Like
No,
it brings it right to you. You're like, I'm as excited as you are because you're still this excited.
but you're absolutely correct. And again, I always equate a lot to skateboarding. There's a kid. I was at a skate park years ago, and there's a young kid, worst skateboarder, one of the worst skateboarders I've ever seen. This kid was
Hmm?
trying to just ollie up this little mani pad. And I stood on it. I'm like, can I see your board for a second? I stood on it. It's like all waterlogged. And I go, hey, why don't you try and ollie up this on my board? I was done skating. He's like, are you sure? What if I break it? I'm like, first off, if I didn't break it, you ain't breaking it. And I let you ride it. So, and like 3 or 4 tries, he ollies up it. The kid was so excited. So excited. And he
Yeah.
comes back. I'm like, I'm done. You can keep riding it. And he did like 3 or 4 more times. I told him, hey, why don't you go here? You know, you can find some cheap boards here, whatever. Or good, inexpensive. I don't want to inexpensive boards here, right? About a year and a half later, a year later, I'm at the skate park. He comes running up to me and he's like, I've been looking for, because I've been looking for you since that day. He's like, thank you so much. He
Mhm.
goes, I went, I got a board, like you said, and I've gone to modern skate. And I'm like, dude, like, first off, it felt great that he was so happy that he landed this trick, because some old guy was like, hey, ride my board. If you chip it, like, I'm telling you to ride it, you
Yeah.
know?
It's on me.
And then and then he finds me, and you just feel like, wow, now the kid works at the skate shop, at the skate park, modern skate. I was in there and I'm that kid's skate dad. And they're like, and I was telling the story, and they go, and all these guys know me, and they go, "This is the guy you told us about." And he's like, "Yeah, he was the one." And he was like, "Dude, that's L Dog, man." They're like, but it's like, imagine if someone's just like, "Oh, hey, can you help me with ollieing up?" I don't know. You just hit your tail and you get up there. Like, you're
Right.
gonna like turn off a kid so quickly. So it's the same way with with anything. If you're fixing
Yes.
cars and someone's just a total douchebag, you're like, all right, well, thanks a lot. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we definitely experienced it with cars, but I can't think of ever experiencing it with GI Joes. Everybody that I ever messaged asking any kind of advice were always really cool with it. They were always forthright with information. Now, granted, I didn't bother people. Like, I didn't like keep on them. I'd ask them the question, I got my answer, and I would leave them alone because I was always afraid of being that guy that was just clinging. You know, he just globbed
yeah,
on. And so I didn't ask a lot of people, but I would usually wait until I would see somebody that I knew was a quality customizer. If they commented on my picture, my post, then I felt somewhat comfortable reaching out to them for something. So
understandable.
that happened with um, uh, Dacre, who's done Almighty Legends.
Okay.
Um, that happened with him. You know, before he had done anything like that, he was this great customizer. Talked to him. I talked to a handful of guys, and they were always like that. And what was interesting is a lot of them would tell me like how happy they were that somebody was interested in it because it had pretty much died. Like by the time I was getting into it, most guys that did 4-inch customs were out of the game. Like they weren't even interested in it anymore. So these few that were still doing it were like, "Oh, new blood. Like, what do you want to know?" Like they were so open about it. And that was really cool. Like it was like me being interested in it reinvigorated their interest in it. And we were trading parts, and I'd ask them like, "Hey, if you got any of these?" Like, "Yeah, you got any of these?" Like, "Yeah." We'd like go fish, and we'd send each other packages and trade stuff. Like, and once that door opened, I was like, "This is freaking rad!" Like, this is so cool. Like, it's like a community of customizers. This, Tony's Figs, and I always talk about the custom coalition. Like this is it. Like that was what I found getting into it. And through that was how I met Chad. At the time he wasn't even articulated yet. He was just a dude on Facebook. And he would ask me about custom stuff, and we messaged all the time. That was how we got tight. And then he started doing his YouTube show, and then he was doing that Road to Joe Fest, and then he had me and Matt LaCroix on for a show to talk about custom stuff. And that was like the YouTube started it. It was YouTube happened because of the custom stuff. So yeah, it was because of the custom stuff. But you had asked me, to get back to your point, you had asked me about the companies the jobs I've got.
Yeah, like you had you got into, you got back into GI Joe because your dad wanted you to go, and you're like, what the hell? And next thing you know, you're painting, and now this little passion of just enjoying creating your own figures has turned into, I'm assuming, paying jobs.
Yep. So like I said, that started with Paulson Longbow.
Quickly, people don't realize like why these customs cost so much is because of time and effort that other people put in.
Sure.
I'm assuming you don't do it just because you're like, I want to make somebody happy. Here, I'll spend 4 hours of my time to make you a figure.
Very rarely.
I spend money with you when I'll send money with it when I give it back to you. People don't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, and my first customer for custom stuff was my dad. When I first got into it, I wasn't comfortable with commissions. That felt dirty to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was up to par where I would be able to get paid for something, and then I was worried about, like, well, it's custom, so what if they get it and it breaks? What if they get it and they scratch the paint? I'm gonna feel bad about that. So it took a long time for me to be even comfortable getting paid for my work at all.
It does make me funny. It's like, what if they scratch it? Well, what if you paint a car and they scratch it? Not really your fault.
It's not your fault. No, it's not. But that was where my mind was at. So like I said, the first gig was Call Sign Longbow, and that was because it was probably a little nepotism there. My dad was a part of it, so Troy saw it and he was like, well, why don't we just have Mikey paint him? He does a good job. And he was like, okay. And then they messaged me, and I was like, holy Lord, this is legit. Yeah, let's do it. So I painted theirs. And then I said that one show where I talked to Chris Scott about the paints and stuff. Well, they were coming out with their second wave of Naughty or Nice Santas, and Matt LaCroix had painted, I think, the first wave. And Matt was getting started on his own line, the Scorched Earth stuff, and he wasn't having time for other people's project. Chris Scott was also getting buried with other projects, but those two guys referred Bill to me to paint the Santas. So wave 2 Santa comes around. Bill's like, we'd like to have you do this. We'd like to have you paint the Sergeant Santa, the full camo. It comes with the bazooka. Right. So he's like, we want to send you this. This is what it needs to look like. Can you do that? I'm like, 100%. So they send it to me. I paint it, send it back. How'd you feel about painting some more? Yes. So they send me the rest of that wave, essentially, without the reindeer and stuff like that, because I think Nikki Nicole, I think she did the paints for the animals.
Is that who does the no, what does she do?
She does. I think she does some of the Four Horsemen stuff.
Yeah. Do Savage Crucibles?
She might also do Savage Crucibles. Yeah, she might.
Dark haired girl, right?
She does fantastic work.
Yeah, I think I follow her on Instagram too.
yeah, anybody that's into painting and stuff should definitely follow Nicole. She's very talented. So I did a bunch of stuff for them, and and that was cool. I have no interest in the Santas. That's not my bag. Um, but it was a project that I was like, this is legit. Like it's a legit painting project. Like I've got longbow, I've got this.
You don't
This is
you
awesome.
don't have to be into a line to accept the job and put your heart and soul into it and do it properly,
Yep.
right? I mean, that's what and that's one of the people, all those people that complain about Emily being on the marketing team of GI Joe, and it's like she doesn't have. First off, she couldn't know everything considering she wasn't born yet, you know. But it's like, do you think that a GM of a car dealership knows everything about cars? Probably not. He understands
Oh,
the workings of
yep.
a business,
Yep. Yep.
and you know what
Yeah.
Santa looks
And
like. He's red and is
yeah,
white. I have, I
most
have, I
most
have
of
it right up
most of
there.
their Santas don't look like that. Most of
That
theirs
is,
are a little crazier, but
I have
um,
the regular Santa. And they're
yeah,
actually really good figures. He's been standing
they
on
are.
one foot for quite some time, like
They're
months.
yeah, they're solid. They are so
Yeah.
honestly, they're really difficult to take apart. Like you have to boil them because they are so thick plastic. They're sturdy. So yeah, so I got into that, and so I would talk to Bill as well as the designer, which was Arlen. He did the Space Zombies Kickstarter not long
Okay,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, that's his project. But he did a lot of the design work for Fresh Monkey Fiction. So I would talk to them, what Bill was looking for, as well as what Arlen was trying to depict in a drawing or a render, and then we just bounce it back and forth until I got what they were looking for, and I sent them that. And then they were coming up on those pumpkin figures,
Yes, the trigger.
Pumpkin Bros.
Know what they are?
Yeah, Pumpkin
I know
Bros,
what
the
they are. I know
trick or
exactly what they
treat
are.
of the naughty or nice
That's
kid.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were having those, and they sent them to me to paint, and I said I'm not going to be able to get these in the time that you need them because they were wanting them um, basically at the same time I would be at Joe Fest, and because of the travel time that I needed to do Joe Fest, I wouldn't be able to do it.
I am listening.
So,
Hold on. I got. I
go
gotta
ahead.
let. I gotta open the door for my dog.
Go ahead. Uh, so so yeah, so I sent that to I think Nikki is who I sent those to so they could get done in time. And and that was kind of it. I talked to Bill and Mike this year at Joe Fest, and Bill was like, look, are you interested in doing some more work for us? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I said, honestly, like all of this Monster Force, like Operation Monster Force, and the Soldiers of Fortune stuff, the Crimson Moon, I said, I am crazy in love with this stuff. So if I can work on any of that, sign me up. And he's like, yeah, okay. Um, so he did. I guess for that's before that for San Diego Comic Con, they had a figure that was the Rocketeer, or no, call opera. Shoot, what is that? Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow.
Okay.
They had that figure, and he wanted me to paint that for San Diego Comic Con. So I did that, sent them that, and then at Joe Fest, he was like, "Can you paint more?" I said, "Absolutely," and that's where we're at now. Now I'm doing stuff for Big Bad Workshop. I've still got gigs with Call Sign Longbow. I've got a couple of paint masters that I need to do for them for their
You
new
mean call sign
figures.
nepotism?
Yes. hmm That's right. You got it.
Hey, but if you're doing the job, I mean, half the people get their foot in the door because of someone that they know. So
Yeah, I mean, these conventions for guys like me. I mean, you too. it's as much networking as it is anything.
Yeah.
You're lining out, clients or guests. There is some work to it. Like, we have fun, but a lot of it is work. I mean,
The amount of people that you realize know who you are. And I'm not talking about
weird.
like the people that watch the show. The fact that Bill started asking me questions and I was like, and I'm thinking, you know who I am? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we had this whole conversation when I was trying to figure out these copyright strikes, but he remembered and was asking about what had happened. Or um Ben Conroy, he starts talking to me and he's like, oh yeah, I love what you've done. And I'm like, I didn't expect you to know who I am. You
Yeah,
know, it is networking, but it's about having fun.
it
I'm
is.
not going there as a business trip. That's what I don't. I know you guys go there as a business.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not going there as a business trip. If it turns into something, great.
sure.
But at the same time, most of the people, even working the conventions, like you're having fun.
Oh
At least
yeah,
I hope you are.
100%.
I mean, that seems
Yeah,
awful if you're miserable working your booth.
yeah, yeah. You're doing something wrong if you're miserable doing the booth.
Yeah. Now, have you turned this into a full-time job, or do you still have an actual
No,
9 to 5 job?
I have a regular gig that I do 9 to 5. This is my second job for sure.
Okay. And what do you do for your real job, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
I do I do inventory control for a packaging equipment manufacturer. So anything you buy like in grocery stores that's like vacuum sealed or something like that, or medical supplies that are, sanitary seals, we make the equipment that does that.
So every day you're doing this inventory, you're going, I can't wait to get home and just get this done. Or hey,
Yes.
what if
It's a very boring job, so all my creative comes home with me.
I drive for almost half my day, and to think that my mind is on the next copy machine that I'm going to work on would be false.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
So you've turned this into a second job, but it is a paying job. It
It
is,
is.
and it sounds like maybe I'm wrong. I feel like, yeah, I have this other job that I do my career, but I'm working at hopefully one day making this my career.
Oh, for
How can
sure.
I eventually make this where down the road I don't have to deal with this? I can be
Yep.
like Dan Larson, who changed from being what was it? What was his? What was Dan Larson's original channel? Toy Galaxy. Now it's become,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because it was Toy Galaxy, and then it became something else Galaxy because he handles other things. That's become his full
Right.
time gig, right? I
Sure.
think I think we would all love that. I would love to be able to wake up at 10 a.m. and be like, all right, well, I got to create some content.
Yeah,
But I don't. I wake up at
be thrilled.
like 6:30 and go, time to fix the copy machines.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right.
So you're doing that. Um, what are you collecting? Like, do you only collect stuff that you're going to work on, or do you actually
I
collect stuff?
I am not much of a collector, admittedly.
Okay.
I most of the stuff that I buy, I consider inventory. That has changed a little bit because Operation Monster Force stuff, I legitimately love that stuff, so I do collect that.
All right.
I collect some classified and stuff, like some just go on the shelf. Um, I like the old school Palatoy Action Force stuff, so I have a small collection of that stuff. Marvel Legends.
Which
This is the
explains
shelf
why you
right
like
here.
the Crimson Moon stuff.
Yep, yep, absolutely. That's the what I truly collect. Now I still have my collection of vinyl and stuff like that, but like the movies and stuff, I sold to get in further with GI Joe because that was my focus. So that collection didn't mean much to me. 700 some Blu-rays, so I sold them.
And you can
Don't
now
have
have it all
money
just.
towards. Now it's all now it's all on 7 different
That's it.
streaming services.
And I used to collect CDs, and I've gotten if it can't be on this, I don't care. But
Yeah.
people who collect vinyl, and being in the punk scene, I know there was a huge thing before everything was. I know people love their vinyl.
Sure.
I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it because I don't have to buy it. I don't have to
Yeah.
store it, right?
Nope.
So yeah, you're still collecting other things. But do you know who Random Diorama is?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he doesn't collect anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think of, and I mean, you collect obviously more than he does, but he's like, I don't really collect anything. I like to create,
Mhm.
these dials for stuff. So he'll have figures, so he can scale stuff up to it.
Sure, because he's building something for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and he does his show on Friday nights, and I mean, him and I have had lots of talks before, and he sent me stuff, and it's
Mhm.
like,
Well, Radnom's a good dude. I liked him. I like meeting him very very much this summer.
and what'd you call him?
Radnom.
I love it. I had to think about when I said random diorama. I was like, am I saying it right? All because of Hella Dope Toys. You know that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because they had him on and had his name spelled wrong.
Yeah.
But what's funny is if I go to message him on Instagram, I type in Rad Nam and it populates.
Yeah. I didn't watch that. I didn't catch that live. I saw the
I didn't
tail
either.
end of it, but when somebody told me about it after, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm calling him Radnom for sure, 100%.
I don't. When someone says random diorama, you're like, you mean Rad Nam?
Yeah,
It's so perfect. It's just so
it
perfect.
is.
I actually
is.
had to ask. When I had him on Thursday with a friend, I had to ask. I asked my moderators. I go, should I change his name to Radnam or should I say Random Diorama? And they were both like, you should say Random Diorama, but you can refer to him. I'm like, that's what I thought, but I thought
AKA Radnom.
yeah. But you can only have too many. You get too many letters, and on the bottom, it's just like a big.
Yeah.
No, but that's actually it's I love that you call him that.
Oh yeah.
He's such a good guy. Like
He is. He's awesome.
he is such a good guy. All right, so that's kind of what you're collecting. Before we wrap it up, your YouTube. What are you doing on YouTube? How did you get into it? And I know that you have different shows, different hosts, and I know you go on with some other people, but what is it that you're solely doing when it comes to the YouTube?
So most of the YouTube is I guess it's on mine. It is mostly custom stuff. So if it's on my channel, it's mostly custom stuff. It's either my Wednesday show with Legend Series where I'm working on something live, painting live or whatever, or it's special just exclusively on my channel. Is every other Sunday with my dad doing a couple of kooks, which is projects that we're working on, and then uh, every other week on Thursdays is Figure It Out with me and Zakanen. We just bounce between each other's channel who hosts.
Okay.
But that one's mostly pop culture. There's a little toy to it. Usually we have like a show and tell or something. But that's just we wanted a show that was like you overhear somebody in a bar talking about something, and before you know it, you're like listening to it. You're like, well, this is a good conversation. And then you're chiming in. That was essentially what we wanted to capture on YouTube. So it's a couple of buddies talking about something with one of their friends, and the chat is the overhearer that's now a part of the conversation.
That's very interesting. It's interesting to hear like that's how you thought of it.
Yeah.
Um, I do another show or another channel with someone where we review each episode of specific TV shows, and that he already had this concept coming from before. He's like, we watch it together, then we instantly go into recording it, and we want it to be like you're hanging out with your buddies,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like exactly what you're saying how your channel is supposed to be.
Yep.
Is that, hey, we're chatting and these are people that are kind of walking by us, hearing us, like, oh yeah, you know what, I remember seeing that or whatever. That's actually, it's interesting to hear the concept, because you probably don't mention that ever.
No, I outside of probably the first maybe couple of episodes we
Yeah,
talked about it, and then after that it's just kind of been assumed. But I mean, if you go to any of these shows, you experience that very thing. Like we did it at Joe Fest that Sunday night. It was just a handful of us. Before we know it, there's like 10 people over there, all mixing in the conversation. So it's something that most of us have done.
yeah,
It's just adding the YouTube element. And I mean, as far as like how I got into the YouTube, that was all Chad. That was doing his show. It was like every other show he did, I was a part of it.
I do
And
remember
so
that.
I got really comfortable with it. Um, and then the more I did it, the more I realized that maybe the buddies that were telling me I should do this on YouTube weren't so crazy. Like there actually were people that might actually enjoy that. And then I was trying to figure out how I could do it. And I was talking to my dad. And I was like, what do you think about doing a podcast, like doing a show? Like every show we go to, we always hear somebody tell us how cool it is that you get to do this with your dad, or that your son is still into this, and how rare that is. And oh man, I hope my kid does that, or I wish me and my dad were that close. Every show we get that, and we were like, that's our thing, that's our niche, that's the
Yeah,
one thing we have that most people don't. So that's what we should base the show around. So that's how Couple of Kooks came to be. That, and I mean, the name is, obviously a play on like kooky, like goofy, but both of us have gone by Kook in our life. Like that
yeah.
had been like a nickname, like, hey, Kook, what's going on? So it was Couple of Kooks. Um, and so that was how that started. And then we were super inconsistent about, when we were going to do a show and what it would be about. And then we finally decided let's just do it every other Sunday, and we'll do it Sunday morning. We won't get a lot of viewers, but Sunday morning feels very calm. It's a cool environment. The people that are up like to engage, so usually if you got 15 people, you usually have 15 commenters, which is
Yeah.
pretty nice.
It,
And still manageable.
well, yeah, I mean, it does get difficult
It gets crazy.
as the shows grow and you have more people, and then you get people that are upset that you're ignoring them, and you're like, dude,
I'm not doing it on purpose, man.
I'm
I
not
gotta
ignoring
move.
you.
I
Yeah.
gotta move the show.
No, and again, it is crazy because you think before you do a YouTube, you're like, who wants to listen to me?
100%.
And it took me, and again, I'll be 100% honest. I was that person that I had to have it planned, because I'm like, consistency is king. I had to pick a date. I picked Monday nights specifically because Geek Dead Life was on Sundays and Toy Anxiety was on Tuesdays. And I didn't want to go up against them. Those were
Sure.
actually the two biggest ones that I watched. I didn't like Friday and Saturday because, to me, I was like, if I start dating someone, I'm going to want to go out on Fridays and
Yeah, you
Saturdays,
need
right?
date night. Yeah, for sure.
You know, I didn't realize, and I'm like, it seems like other people are. I didn't realize that most of the people watching are trying to get away from their significant other, so it doesn't matter. They're,
You
they're
kind
gonna
of want
be
those spaces. Yeah, it's weird, but I definitely see it.
so I picked Mondays, and I had to look at it, and I was like, 9 p.m. every Monday. It put me up against Monday Night Football, which I know isn't a huge deal. Wrestling was the bigger one that I had, that I knew that there is that
Okay.
slight
Okay.
crossover.
There's a crossover.
But I
Okay.
had already built up doing reviews. People knew who I was, and I just stuck with it. And I was probably one of the most consistent people in our community doing a live stream. And that was by design, because I'm like, now I can take a Monday off and I'm not worried that, dude, are people going to completely forget who I am?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I made jokes against, Jerk and Gaines. I'm like, it wasn't bad enough that you had to come in an hour earlier on Monday, but then you felt you had to do it on Thursday too. And Jerk was like, I found that out. I felt so bad. I'm like, there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, you're gonna step on somebody eventually, and you try not to. You try to be conscientious, but at the end of the day, you just take your time. Just whatever
Yeah.
time works for you. I mean,
And
very few people are doing that shit out of spite. Like,
no, and I
there's
tell
not many
everyone, I
people that are
go,
like, I'm gonna take over that time slot.
yeah.
It's not gonna
And I tell everyone, I go, to make my job is never going to be to make you not want to watch someone else. My job is to make you want to watch me. So if you're watching Jerkin Games on Monday and 9 o'clock rolls around and you're like, hey, you know what? I really want to watch Punk, and then I'll come back and finish Jerkin Games. Cool. If you're like, hey, I like Jerkin Games more, I'll flip over to Punk once they're done, and then I'll watch, I watch the beginning of it later. Great. My job
Sure.
is not to make people not watch them or whoever else is going. It's to make
Right.
you want to watch me. And if that means on Tuesday morning you're like, well, I'm gonna watch them on the replay, that's awesome too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like
But there are
I
people.
get that because I do that. Like I understand. Like I like listening to the podcast and stuff while I'm at work.
Yeah.
Like that's what I like. I like it keeps my mind engaged, Like while I'm doing boring, monotonous inventory things, I've got guys in my ear talking about toys, or if I'm listening to Jerk and Gaines, tits, whatever it may be. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Robot tip,
yeah, I
roll
enjoy the
down.
commentary while I'm doing it. Yeah, but I appreciate the replay squad, just as much as everybody else.
Yeah. And
It
again,
doesn't hurt my feelings that you didn't catch me live. It really
no, and when people jump in and like, oh, sorry, I'm late, like, dude, you are taking your time to tune in and watch me at some point. Don't
yeah,
apologize.
you're prioritizing me over so many other things.
Yeah.
It
And
means the
don't get
world.
me, yeah, I'll call you out if you're not watching me. But but no, and it's definitely one of those things. Yeah, buddy, I know. If only there was someone else in the house that could let you out. But no, it's definitely one of those things. And you guys do a show on Thursday, and I'm very respectful of. I was like, I I really like having a a pre-recorded show, let's say on Thanksgiving or Christmas and New Year's are both on Thursdays.
Yeah, that's
But we're
good.
gonna
That's
be at Assembly Required.
Mhm.
But I also don't want to ask you because you do your show, and I would hate for someone to ask me to do a show on Monday or Thursday when I know I'm busy, because then you have to be like, I'm sorry, like I do my own show.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't expect anyone to be like, oh yeah, I can cancel my show. If you're willing to, then that's awesome. So
sure.
I saw the opportunity to say, hey, you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. So I'm not doing a show. Would you
It's
like to
perfect.
record?
It's perfect.
And,
Yeah.
it's worked out. It works out really good with the people from overseas. Although
Oh, sure.
I'm running out of people to ask to do it and do a recording.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have Christmas and New Year's. I don't know if we're getting those this year. Because I already have the Thanksgiving one lined up, but
Yeah.
this one works out perfect because people will be waiting. And if I don't show up, they'll be like, what? Like, I had other things to do for once in my life.
I gotta drive. I gotta fly it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Like I gotta go.
Are
Get
you
down
coming in on Thursday?
Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll probably be hanging out right about now.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
So where can everyone? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, I was like, yeah, we'll be getting in sometime Thursday and leaving Sunday morning usually. So.
Yep, you're driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're only, how far are you? You're only
3 hours. 3 hours
yeah.
from Des Moines.
I think I have
Not
like
bad
a
at all.
8 or 9 hour drive. I actually asked.
Awful.
I asked Alexa how far it is to Des Moines, Iowa, and then how far it is to Fairfield, New Jersey, which is right around where Legion's Con is, and I'm almost directly set in the middle of both of them.
That's crazy.
Like one was like 617 miles, and the other one was like 625 miles.
Wow, that's
But
crazy.
I'm not going to Legion's Con because
I can't do another back to back. I did that this summer and it was brutal.
Oh yeah, you went
It
right
was
to.
Joe Fest right to DFW, and it was rough.
I mean,
Not to mention it grenaded my my vacation time at work. Like just destroyed it.
so 2026, we're going to Joe Fest, and then right from Joe Fest, driving down to Orlando to go to Disney and everything. So
Oh,
my
nice.
son, as of now, the plan is my son's going to Joe Fest with me, and then my ex, her sister-in-law, and my daughter are flying out to meet us for Orlando.
Nice.
So it's two. And I asked my boss, I'm like, because actually Ed was the one that brought it up. From Ed Schumacher, he was like, "Why don't you just go down? You're only 6 hours away." And I'm thinking,
Right.
yeah, if we're already going to be doing Disney or whatever, if I drive down, drive back up, and then a month later you're telling me I have to drive 19 or 20
All that
hours,
back.
I'm gonna be like, you know what? No, I'm done. No, you know what? I will go next year.
100%. Yeah.
I asked my boss. He's like, well, normally we don't let people have 2 weeks off in a row, but I can do it once. It's in June. We're really dead. And he's like, but you can't do this every year. I'm like, I can't afford Disney every year.
I'm not doing this every year, buddy.
Go fast. I'm gonna try and do every year. But
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right. Like I'm looking at the vacation time. One good thing is 4th of July rolls into it. So I'm like, well, that is one day that I would get to save.
That's nice if you can squeeze one of those in. That is
Yeah.
convenient.
It happened to be a happy accident. Because you
Right.
remember Joe Fest was supposed to be the week before.
Mm-hmm.
So we were gonna push it up, but then because of Father's Day,
Right.
which I'm like, dude, what better Father's Day than be at Joe Fest anyway? But I guess he
For
did that
sure.
a couple years. I guess he did that a couple years before.
Yeah.
Um, he had done that a couple years before, and they said it didn't work out. And there are people that said like he specifically did that. He specifically moved it thinking that it was DFW, thinking that he moved to be on the week of DFW. And I know that's not true because when I had him on my show earlier that year before Joe Fest, he already knew that DFW was moving to earlier in the year. So all the people that said that, absolutely incorrect because he told me about that way
Yeah.
before.
That whole like fictitious rivalry that people are painting that it's not. Neither one of them are trying to step on anybody. They just two shows can exist.
Not only can two shows exist, they're 2 weekends apart, but they're also 1,000 miles apart.
Yes.
And that's what I didn't get. That would be like, oh, you know what? Someone put Motor City Comic Con a week before San Diego Comic Con and be like, yeah, they're on different sides of the country and it's completely different.
2 hours apart in time zones.
Yeah,
Even like
it does suck for the people that will go to both of them. There's no doubt about that.
yeah.
But same with like YouTube. You can't dictate what you're gonna do. Again, if you're being a dick about it, then you're just being a dick.
You're being a dick. Yeah.
You can't change that, right? People are people.
If that's your primary MO, then that's your primary.
Yeah.
Most of us not.
But I know people have said like, I've heard people say that, Ed specifically moved it thinking that he was going to step on DFW. But he told me before any of this that he said, yeah, DFW is moving like a month the month ahead of like till May.
Yeah, they're in May now.
Yeah, so he already knew that. Because again, it's not like, the inner circles aren't like some big, huge inner circles. They're all the same fucking people.
Yeah, there's so much overlap. It's crazy.
So much.
Oh,
So
gosh.
much of it. Yeah, you gotta love it. And hey, I'd be lying if I said I was never part of any of the drama.
Oh, sure.
But sometimes you have to roll your eyes and you go, all right, whatever.
Yep.
You have to be self-aware. So tell everyone where they can find you. I will have the descriptions in like links in the in the description. But tell everyone where they can find you when you're doing your shows.
Yeah. So
Don't tell them about the Thursday show because that's when I do shows.
Oh, right. You can catch those on Friday mornings. So Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Central, or 6:30 p.m. Central. I do a show with Legend Series. It's called JMK Custom Works Live. And that is me painting and working on customs live, where you can ask questions and I can give answers and show you techniques and stuff like that. Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central is Figure It Out, and that rotates between my channel and Zakanan's channel. You can find him on YouTube, where we have a guest on, and we usually do a top 5 pop culture related. And we're looking at maybe making a change to the time slot, so that may be coming. And then every other Sunday, you can catch me with my dad on a couple of kooks at 10 a.m. Central Time. Yeah, and right now I'm doing, if you're a member of Yojo Jerk, usually on his Friday night members only streams, hanging out with him and Zakanan and whoever else may be there.
So quickly before I let you go, I want to ask, how do you feel that switching between channels for Figure It Out works? Do you think people have a hard time?
I do think people have a hard time, but it was about Zakanan and I growing our channels with our show. So at some point, it may be something that we consider starting a new channel for our show. But for the time being, we're just rotating, and it lets us try different things with each other hosting and that kind of thing. So as the show says, we are figuring it out.
Oh, that makes sense. And just in case, if you go to Assembly Recall, right? No, Assembly Required or Joe Fast, you could end up with one of these.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
I have more somewhere around here.
That's the best joke that turned into branding. I love it. That was good.
So I'm gonna let you go. 3.5 hours. Thank you so much. This is great. Again, these are made. I mean, this whole show was to present someone that supported me, whether it be supporting me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Someone that just said, "Hey, I love your collecting," and if I can help someone and bring to light who they are, no one ever talks about it. You see people in the chat all the time, and you're like, "What is their story?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it always was. I'd watch Geek Dead Life and these big channels, and I'm like, dude, who is this Thanos Copter? I thought Thanos Copter was like this really big YouTuber. Come to find out, he hardly does any YouTube.
Yeah.
He posts some very inappropriate stuff on Wednesdays on Instagram. Not for the lighthearted. Great guy. Talked to him. I mean, been on so many shows with him. So it was like, it was getting to know all these different people. Again, you think that they're these big YouTubers, and then you find out like, oh, they're just part of their community.
Yeah.
But getting to know who they are is awesome. So I want to say thank you for giving me, again, over 3 hours of your time, close to 4 hours. We talked before this on a Sunday morning when you're probably, well, your Kansas City Chiefs don't play for a little while, do they?
Yeah. We got an afternoon game.
I think the Lions are playing right now. I would assume they're probably killing the Vikings, but I could be completely wrong.
Well,
this could be the Vikings week.
Any given Sunday, right?
Very true. It is such a true statement. So anyway, Mikey, thank you very much. In the description is our links to his Instagram and YouTube. Thank you. And we'll
Appreciate
probably be hanging out
man.
about this time because it's actually an hour back for me.
Oh, well, there you go.
So all right, take care.
You too, buddy.